The high-temperature apocalypse is coming, but my sister is determined to be the soft female lead in a doomsday overlord story, she gasped repeatedly. It's so hot outside. The doomsday overlord's forced love is just too enjoyable, isn't it? I earnestly advised her. In the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable. Relying on beauty to serve others won't last long. It's better to face the difficulties early and work hard to awaken your own abilities. Moreover, that overlord has long had someone special in his heart. After my repeated persuasion, my sister finally decided to face the apocalypse crisis with me. After some time of effort, she awakened her water-based abilities and became a strong survivor in the apocalypse. Unexpectedly, that doomsday overlord became stronger and stronger, teaming up with his good brother to become a dominant base lord. Later, I heard that shortly after my sister left, that overlord found a proud beauty, and the two brothers pampered her like a precious jewel, enjoying all the glory, and that proud beauty resembled her by about 80%. My sister hated me to the bone because of this, and during an outing to search for supplies, she pushed me off a tall building. Before I died, she had a fierce expression on her face. If it weren't for you, I would have been the little princess of the apocalypse. Why would I have to suffer so much? It's all your fault. I didn't expect that when I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the beginning of the high-temperature apocalypse. 1. Miss Nora, have you made up your mind? Do you want to come with me? A deep voice sounded. I suddenly jolted and looked at the man sitting across from me, Archer, the only son of the richest man in City A. The pain of my broken spine is still vivid, and at this moment, I also clearly realize that I have been reborn. I was reborn at the beginning of the high-temperature apocalypse. When my sister Celeste was noticed by Archer, it was clearly autumn, but the temperature was rising steadily. The outdoor temperature during the day has risen from an initial 40 degrees to 45 degrees, 50 degrees, until now. It is nearly 60 degrees, with no signs of a decrease in temperature. Under these circumstances, humans can no longer engage in outdoor activities for long periods. Schools have stopped classes. Factories have halted production, many public facilities are out of service, and the vast majority of people are working and studying from home. At first, everyone cheered for the rare holiday, but when widespread high-intensity electricity usage led to intermittent power outages in most areas, people began to panic. People rushed to grab supplies, driving up prices, and everyone felt insecure, taking advantage of the fact that the city had not yet completely descended into chaos. I drove out of the city overnight with supplies, planning to take my sister Celeste back to the countryside to escape the heat. At the gas station, I encountered Archer, who was also leaving the city to escape the heat. Celeste's eyes were filled with anticipation, yet she pretended to be reserved. Sister, are we going to leave with Archer, too? In my previous life, I saw her intentions and quickly pulled her aside to analyze the pros and cons. Archer is not related to us. His willingness to take you away at this moment is merely because he is attracted to your looks. In the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable. Relying on looks to serve others won't last long. It's better to face the difficulties early and strive to awaken your own abilities. I am a fan of apocalyptic novels and follow many various forums and groups. Coincidentally, I saw a video in a group where a certain big shot awakened his abilities. Although the video was almost immediately retracted, I still saw the scene of him waving his hand to create ice. That person said he accidentally consumed a plant with ice crystals and provided a relatively detailed description. To persuade Celeste not to act impulsively, I revealed all the information I knew, but she didn't listen at all. She was even a bit excited. Sister, have you read the Doomsday Posts? Archer is a wealthy and powerful big shot, good-looking and well-built, with maximum sexual tension, while I have a narrow waist and a round bottom, cute and plump, a perfect real-life Doomsday Post heroine. It's so hot outside, the Doomsday boss's forced love is just too enjoyable. Okay, I was almost speechless and could only pour a bucket of cold water over her. As everyone knows, Archer has a white moonlight, an escaped fiancé. The news of Archer chasing his wife at the airport in a luxury car caused quite a stir at the time. After much thought, she ultimately decided to give up traveling with Archer. On the way to the suburbs to escape the heat, I not only took care of Celeste's food, clothing, housing, and emotions, but even brought her the first ice crystal grass I found to stimulate her abilities. By constantly accumulating energy, she became a strong survivor in the post-apocalyptic world. Unexpectedly, Archer became stronger and stronger, not only becoming a local boss in the post-apocalyptic world, but also finding a beautiful woman who looked like her, treating her like a precious jewel, enjoying endless wealth and luxury. Celeste blamed me for all the mistakes and cruelly pushed me off the building. Thinking about this, I smiled. You are an individual with your own thoughts, and I respect all your decisions. Seeing that I gave in, Celeste pulled me aside and, pretending to be a bit embarrassed, whispered quietly, "But I only met him 5 minutes ago. I gave her an encouraging look. The relationship with every person starts from nothing. If you think he is reliable, seize this opportunity. For someone like Archer, you might not get another chance like this. She just needed someone to support her, not to seek advice. Celeste ran happily towards Archer, shyly looking at him. Archer, I am willing to travel with you. In this lifetime, if Celeste wants to throw herself into someone's arms, I certainly won't stop her, after all. I also want to know what will happen to that proud beauty when she is found. After agreeing to travel with Archer, Celeste arrogantly commanded her bodyguards to come and carry her luggage. When she left home, she brought an oversized suitcase and 2 large bags, all filled with her clothes, bags, shoes, and cosmetics. I advised her not to bring so much and to leave space for food and daily necessities. But she didn't listen, and we ended up having a big fight over it, of course. It ended with me compromising. By the time her luggage was moved, the trunk of the car was already more than half empty. Celeste was not in a hurry to leave. She leaned against the car door, lazily watching me fill the gas tank. Sister, there's no need for women to be so strong-willed. Why suffer like this? Archer's team is still missing a cook. If you say a few good words to him, I'll help by saying a few nice things too. He might be willing to take you along. Archer, TSK, in just a little while. You've already gotten so familiar. After being your free nanny for so many years, even if I owe you a life from the last life, it should be repaid. Don't take yourself too seriously. If you want me to be a free nanny, no way, in this life. Without the constraints of so-called family ties, I won't hold back. Celeste probably didn't expect me to refuse. And to speak so harshly, she was stunned for several seconds before coming to her senses. If you don't want to go, then don't. They don't care about you. There are plenty of people willing to come. She stomped her foot angrily and shouted at the bodyguard next to her, move these few boxes of water, self-heating hot pot, and rice to Archer's RV. Don't forget there's a small freezer in the back seat, which has a lot of ice water and marinated food, just right for eating on the road. Those compressed biscuits can be discarded. They are hard and taste terrible. She can indeed do mental arithmetic. Currently, the temperature keeps rising, and prices are changing daily. When the outdoor temperature reaches 60 or 70 degrees, even with money, you won't be able to buy anything. Water and non-perishable food will be treasures that everyone fights over. When the average daytime temperature rises to over 50 degrees. I was at the supermarket fighting with a group of crazy aunties for drinking water, almost getting trampled to death. Celeste didn't help at all. Instead, she happily filmed a video of me carrying water and posted it on social media, saying I was being overly worried. Because of her social media post, I don't know how many people from my past life were drawn to me. Those neighbors frequently came to borrow water, and later even smashed my door. If I hadn't left the city early, how could the two of us girls protect ourselves? The water and stored food that I risked my life to keep, does she deserve to eat? Quickly pressing the car key, I locked the trunk. In broad daylight. Are you planning to rob me? Celeste angrily slapped the trunk. Why can't I move things? It was agreed that these supplies belonged to both of us. Mom asked you to take good care of me before she passed away. Do you want her to die with regrets? Again, at times like this, she brings up her deceased mother without reason. I looked at her with mockery and had no intention of backing down an inch. Don't think you can use that biased mom to manipulate me. You didn't spend a dime or lift a finger for these food and water. Whether I give them to you or not is entirely up to me. Since childhood, my mother always made me yield to her, and even before her death, she couldn't let go of her worries about me, and I am only 2 years older than her. When my mother passed away, I had just started college, while studying and working part-time. I was afraid that my father would treat her poorly if he remarried, so I sent her living expenses on time every month. After graduating, we both worked in the same city, and I took on almost all the living expenses and household chores, just because of a few words from my mother before she died. I selflessly gave, and in the end, I only ended up with a tragic fate. Why should I? Ignoring her wailing, I quickly sat in the driver's seat and locked the car door. Just as I was about to close the car window, a strong hand reached in through the window and grabbed my wrist. Archer looked down at me from above, with the indifference typical of someone in a position of power. Nora, right, for Celeste's sake, you can come with us, I allow it. Seeing Archer, Celeste immediately leaned in like a wilting flower, looking wronged as she began to complain. Archer, my sister doesn't want to join the team. She says she doesn't want to be your free babysitter. We originally agreed to split the supplies in the car, but now she doesn't want to give me my share. The more she spoke, the more wronged she seemed, tears starting to fall. Actually, I can give the food to my sister. I just really want you to try the many local specialties in the small fridge. Archer frowned tightly, gripping my wrist hard, his tone already somewhat impatient. Woman, I advise you not to challenge my patience. I raised my eyes and stared at Archer. In the moment he was distracted, my other hand reached for the central control panel and pulled out a stainless steel fruit fork. Without any hesitation, I ruthlessly stabbed it into his arm. You crazy person. With that stab, I used all my strength, blood dripping down Archer's arm. He let out a scream, released my hand, and instinctively withdrew from the window. No sooner said than done. I quickly started the vehicle and stepped on the gas, after driving a few dozen meters away. Suppressing my racing heart, I dared to look back through the rearview mirror. I saw Archer standing in place with his arm raised, while a bodyguard was bandaging him with gauze, and Celeste was standing beside him, nervously handing over tools. Not bothering to observe them any longer, I quickly drove away. With so many bodyguards around Archer, if they caught up, given my current abilities, I might not be able to escape unscathed. Watching the shadow of the person behind the car grow farther away, it seemed to carve a rift with all the past. From now on, I will live for myself. I saw Celeste again half a month later, the unfinished villa area in the outskirts of County A. Sister, I didn't expect to meet you here. Celeste seemed to have forgotten the previous unpleasantness and greeted me with a smile. Her upper body was almost entirely pressed against Archer's arm, her hips slightly raised, striking a strange pose. The daytime temperature has already reached over 60 degrees, and even standing in the pavilion in the villa yard, the heat waves in the air still hit me, burning my face. I did not go directly to the self-built house in the countryside as planned, but instead came to the place where I discovered the ice crystal grass in my previous life. 3. Without her burden, I arrived here 3 days earlier than in my previous life. Successfully discovering that special plant with white ice crystals among a bunch of withered grass, this route is neither a necessary path to my parents' self-built house in the countryside nor does it lead to Archer's countryside villa. Logically, we shouldn't meet. It's too strange. Before I could think carefully, Celeste spoke up as if interrogating a prisoner. Sister, when did you arrive? Did you see any special plants, for example? Plants covered in ice crystals? I was taken aback. So far, the network communication had not been interrupted, and many people knew that absorbing mutated plants could grant special abilities, but her expression was as if she was certain there were mutated plants here. Could it be that she has also been reborn? I pretended to be confused and replied, "Oh, are you talking about those small grasses with fleshy leaves covered in ice crystals?" Celeste didn't wait for me to finish speaking. A smile blossomed on her face as she turned to take credit. Archer, I told you, she must have saved the mutated grass for me. Archer's previously furrowed brows gradually relaxed as he reached out and pinched her waist. Little fairy, you must let me spoil you tonight. You are so bad. Accompanied by Celeste's faint proud hum, Archer pulled her into his arms and kissed her forcefully. Soon, the two were kissing passionately and unwilling to part. The scene was simply too eye-watering. I cleared my throat, awkwardly interrupting their good moment. Give it to me. With the moment interrupted, Celeste shot me an annoyed glare and extended her hand in front of me. What? I pretended to be clueless. Mutant grass. Celeste raised her voice. You always said relying on others is worse than relying on yourself, right? I've figured it out. I want to unlock my powers. Give me the mutant grass. She acted as if it were a given. As if agreeing to unlock her powers was a favor to me, just like the previous life. Exactly the same, before. I didn't see her hypocrisy. Every time I gave her mutant grass, it seemed like I was forcing her, like she was only unlocking her powers because I asked her to. In fact, she wasn't unwilling to become stronger, she just didn't want to work hard, hoping for a free gift from the sky, wanting to get something for nothing. You want mutant grass, right? I teased her, slowly saying the second half of my sentence in front of her expectant eyes. Sorry, I already ate it 3 days ago. Celeste wasn't moved at all. You didn't save any for me. I don't believe it. Show it to me right now. She really thought she was something. I tossed a crystal of ice, which whizzed past her face, leaving a trail of blood. Do you believe it? I smiled brightly. With the experience of the previous life, before coming to the villa area, I had already obtained a crystal grass. Now I not only can adapt to the scorching temperature outside, but I can also easily condense ice crystals and launch attacks. Archer's bodyguards rushed over, 4 strong men nearly 9 meters tall, intending to surround me. They are just a few people without activated abilities. I don't take them seriously. Just as I was about to make a move again, Archer quickly reached out to stop me. It's a small matter. You all leave first. He really knows how to assess the situation, realizing he is not my opponent. So he pulled Celeste and followed the bodyguards out. As they reached the edge of the pavilion, his displeased voice came over. Wasn't it said that the mutated grass was almost guaranteed? Now wasting time coming to this broken place. Archer wanted to say something else, but Celeste tiptoed and kissed him on the lips, then whispered something in his ear. They exchanged a smile and embraced each other, continuing to nibble on each other. As she was leaving, she turned back and gave me a smug smile. Celeste and Archer settled in the basement of the villa across the street. After they insulated the villa with sunshades and awnings, there was no further movement. I also did not leave. I just became more cautious in my daily routine. The car is parked in the villa's underground garage, and I almost live and eat around the vehicle, definitely not going far. Previously, when passing through the town, I stocked up on several large barrels of gasoline and bought a lot of food, filling the space left by Celeste's moved luggage to the brim. With ice crystals and an insulated box to cool down, I can still enjoy fresh meat and fruits, making life quite comfortable. According to the timeline, a heavy rain will come in 2 days, and by then, another ice crystal grass will grow on the roof of the villa where I live. After harvesting this grass, I will leave without delay. As for Celeste, I will certainly make her suffer a bit. The night before the heavy rain, a rare wind blew through the dead air, and the temperature dropped significantly, feeling only over 50 degrees. Taking this opportunity, Celeste pulled Archer to appear in front of me once again, showing off their affection. "Sister, you must be so lonely by yourself." She looked at me with a sympathetic gaze and chattered on. "Bodyguard Jude graduated from a sports university, and he looks decent. Although he isn't as outstanding as Archer, he is still more than enough for you. In the apocalypse, it's not safe for a girl like you. If you follow Jude, and if he also awakens his powers, your safety will be even more assured. Don't be ungrateful." At that moment, I was eating ice cream, watching her lips move, feeling inexplicably irritated, frowning. The ice crystal in my hand had already formed. Celeste was so scared that she shivered and directly hid behind Archer. "Sister, what are you doing?" "I was just trying to help you. Are you going to make a move again?" She instinctively covered her face. I was already out of patience to play the sister-sister act with her, so I directly shot out an ice crystal, hitting her knee. Celeste cried out in pain, kneeling on one knee on the ground, screaming, "Archer, tell Jude to shoot her dead." Anger flared in Archer's eyes as he held Celeste in his arms and waved to Jude outside the villa. At that moment, an off-road vehicle stopped outside the villa. I looked up and saw a charming figure jump down from the car. "Brother Archer, long time no see." That face looked 80% like Celeste. Oh no. The proud beauty that Archer pampered in the last life has arrived. "Nix, why are you back?" Archer was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes visibly lit up with surprise. "What, are you not happy that I'm back?" Nix smiled brightly, and when she turned to Celeste, she curled her lips in displeasure. "Who is this? She does look a bit like me. How could I not be happy?" Archer relaxed his hand and ruthlessly pushed Celeste aside. Nix happily opened her arms to him, and the two shared a heartfelt hug. Celeste was so angry that her face turned red. She caught a glimpse of me sitting aside watching the drama and said to me in a huff, "Since some people have found new loves, why don't I just go with you?" After saying that, Celeste glanced at Archer with the corner of her eye, waiting for him to notice her displeasure. The other party was currently immersed in the joy of reunion and had no time to pay attention to her. Celeste could no longer control her emotions and rushed up to slap Nix across the face. "Vixen, don't think that just because you look a bit like me, you can mess around with Archer, but he has a girlfriend." Nix was stunned by a slap from her. Her eyes immediately turned red, and big tears fell down as she looked at Archer with grievance. It perfectly showcased the pure and innocent image of the little white lotus. "Celeste, are you crazy?" Archer was pained by the tears of the white moonlight, raising his hand towards Celeste, and it looked like he was about to bring it down. "If you dare to hit me, don't forget my sister has ice powers. If you touch me, I'll have her kill this vixen." Celeste stubbornly raised her face, her eyes filled with defiance. Archer glanced in my direction, ultimately putting his hand down, not knowing what he was plotting in his mind. "Leave my territory. I have no interest in your melodramatic relationship." I waved my hand impatiently, and an ice crystal flew past Nix's cheek. Good. Let's go now." Archer's attitude was surprisingly good, greeting the two women and heading outside. Celeste's eyes showed a hint of confusion as she reluctantly followed Archer out the door. Early the next morning, Celeste knocked on my car door. "Sister, please help me." She covered her cheek with one hand, looking at me with red eyes. I lowered the car window a crack, leisurely waiting for her to speak. She seemed a bit embarrassed, and after seeing that I didn't urge her to leave, she angrily began to complain. "That little bitch Nix, just because she knows Archer a few days longer than I do, she actually dared to hit me." 5. Celeste's face was clearly marked with a handprint, red and swollen. "So what?" I took a sip of water, waiting for her to continue. Celeste had made up her mind, and spoke slowly. "To be honest, a few days ago I had a dream of many incredible things. In that dream, this place would soon have a heavy rain, and after the rain, the temperature would rise sharply. Sister would pick a mutated grass covered in white fur for me, and I would be able to activate my ability." "Sister, you already have an ice-type ability. Please help me." She pressed her hands against my car window, pleading desperately. Before, I was not mature. If I could be as strong as you, Archer would treat me with the same respect as he does you, then I would really make him look bad. I just looked at her calmly. From her expression, the dream she described was probably not the same as what she actually experienced. It was just a refined version to ask for the mutated grass again. Celeste must have reincarnated. I didn't expect that. Even after another chance, her mind was still only on men. It was your own fault for not being mature before. I have no reason to cover for you for the rest of your life. Everything you encounter today is a result of your past choices. The path you chose must be walked by you alone. Seeing that I was unmoved, her gaze suddenly became fierce. If at that time you had told me that we would definitely find the mutated grass, would I have followed Archer? Now that you have the ability, how can you completely disregard my life and death? Is that fair to our mother's spirit in heaven? Looking at her fierce expression, I felt inexplicably confused. In the unpredictable end times, who can ensure that we will definitely find the mutated grass? Don't mention Mom again. I advise you to leave early and don't force me to take action. 6. Celeste met my cold gaze and ultimately turned back reluctantly. Through the car window, I could still hear her sobbing loudly. At that moment, large raindrops began to fall from the sky. And soon the outside was a white blur. It seems that it won't be long before I can go look for new mutated grass. By the time the rain stopped, it was already noon. The scorching sun was high in the sky, and the temperature in the air was rapidly rising. The morning rain evaporated quickly in a short time. I looked around and, after not seeing anyone else, quickly got up and went towards the villa's upper floor. According to memories from my previous life, I found the mutated grass that was covered with white frosty hair in the corner on the roof. In my previous life, I found that the villa had a well, and the automatic water pump on the roof would pump the well water to the water tower. I was just trying my luck to see if I could find any water resources in the tower. Unexpectedly, I had an unexpected gain. At that time, both I and Celeste had already taken a mutated grass, and the scorching temperature could no longer affect us too. And my silly good sister gave this rare mutated grass back to her. I didn't expect that after taking the mutated grass, it actually awakened her spatial abilities, laying a solid foundation for accumulating resources in the future. The mutated grass grew rapidly in front of me, soon reaching the size of a palm. I carefully pulled it out by the roots. The mutated grass in my palm emitted a strong vitality, a feeling like the hope of all things reviving in spring. Just as I was about to put it in my mouth, the leaves of the mutated grass quickly curled together, looking like a withered plant in autumn. Just as I was surprised, I heard Celeste shout loudly, "No, this mutated grass, it is mine." An even more miraculous scene occurred. Suddenly, several lines of bullet comments floated across my eyes. What is Nora trying to do? She has already eaten 2 mutant plants, and she won't even give one to her sister. The space inside the mutant plant is the foundation for the protagonist's accumulation of supplies. The opportunity was originally Celeste's. Haven't you noticed that plant is already withered? I looked at the live comments drifting by in confusion. I suddenly realized that the time and space I'm living in is just a novel being watched by others. Those who sent the live comments can know the future development of the plot, but they don't know that because I have reincarnated. The plot has become very different from the previous life. If this mutant plant is destined to be Celeste's opportunity, then if I can't get it, no one else can either. I took out a windproof lighter from my pocket, clicked it on, and slowly approached the mutant plant with the flame. The live comments started scrolling again. Nora must be crazy. Does she know what she is about to burn is the foundation of the world's plot development? I pretend not to see what they are saying and bring the lighter's flame closer to the mutated grass. At that moment, something miraculous happened. The mutated grass, which had already completely withered, suddenly turned from yellow to green as if it had received rain and dew. At the exact moment the lighter's flame approached the leaf, the whole plant returned to its original state, a lush green thick leaf, covered with crystalline frost, just like the one I gave to Celeste back then. I smiled slightly and quickly put it in my mouth. It was like a full cotton candy, and once in my mouth, it quickly melted into a sweet, clear liquid like sugarcane juice. Soon, a space as large as a football field appeared in my mind, and according to my consciousness, I could freely wander around in that space. With this treasure, all I need to do next is stockpile supplies. Celeste stared wide-eyed in disbelief. How could this happen? The space clearly belongs to me. At that moment, Archer also rushed to the rooftop. He looked at the crying Celeste and probably understood the situation. "Didn't you say that these were all your opportunities?" he shouted angrily and pushed her away. "I don't know why this is happening." Celeste was pushed and fell directly onto the rooftop. Big tears started to fall down her face. I stood across from her, looking at her with a smile. 7. The temperature on the rooftop was so high, but fortunately, it had just rained. Otherwise, just that fall could have caused burns. It seems that in this life, Celeste chose her long-desired Archer but did not receive the love she expected. Brother Archer, Lucian has built a doomsday base in the south. Let's go there. We'll have anything we need. Then we can get the mutated grass by trading supplies. We'll definitely get it. Besides, I have a small space. We'll have enough. You're not here with me. I don't feel safe. Nyx arrived on the rooftop without anyone noticing, holding an umbrella, standing in the shade of the stairs, and coquettishly flirting with Archer. She was holding an ice pack, constantly fanning herself with a fan. These things must have come from the space. Archer lifted her gently. Didn't I tell you to stay in the car? It's so hot outside. What if you get heatstroke, Archer? Didn't you say she betrayed you, and you've already forgotten her? Celeste, watching the two of them flirting, shouted angrily. She slowly got up and quickly moved her body to the shade to cool off. Betrayal. It's just a game of chase between us as a couple, Nyx sneered, her eyes full of mockery. Don't you look at your face, isn't it just my low-end version? Archer stood by, reaching out to wrap his arm around Nyx's shoulder. Nyx, let's go. After saying that, he turned back to look at Celeste. You don't have to follow me anymore, just follow your sister. Don't say that. The male lead is quite heartless. It was Archer who said he would take care of Celeste, but when the white moonlight returned, he turned his back on her. In the apocalypse, who still reads sweet pet novels, it's all about the survival of the fittest. Barges rolled in front of me. Everyone was fiercely discussing Celeste's fate, but it seemed like no one could change anything. Celeste turned her gaze towards me, her crimson eyes revealing the last trace of hope. I merely curled my lips indifferently, smiling and shaking my head. I still understand the principle of raising a tiger to invite trouble. In that instant, Celeste resolutely turned her head and rushed towards the two people in front of her. By the time I walked over, Archer and Nyx were already lying on the floor of the villa's first floor. Nyx had already passed out, while Archer was clutching his right leg with a twisted expression. The villa has 2.5 stories, and since it is unfinished, there are no railings. The two of them were probably caught off guard by Celeste. Archer's bodyguard had already run in from outside and quickly returned to his side. Celeste, I have treated you well. Why do you want to put me to death? He angrily pointed upstairs. The bodyguard beside him immediately understood and rushed upstairs. You have treated me well. Celeste laughed out loud. I am just a substitute for your white moonlight. As soon as Nyx returns, I become nothing. You know very well that my sister doesn't want me anymore, yet you leave me here. Isn't it just to let me wait to die? The temperature is so high, and you're injured. Your wound might get infected. I won't make it, and you won't either. She laughed out loud. At this moment, the security guard had already rushed to her side. I quickly threw out 2 ice crystals. The ice crystals directly pierced through the bodyguard's knees, and both of them cried out in pain, rolling down from the building. Sister, you must have also been reborn, right? I stood behind her, speaking lazily. You. Celeste's eyes quickly flashed with surprise, then she nodded in understanding and smiled. Surely, last time, the man you wholeheartedly wanted to be with. This time, you've finally gotten him. I looked at Archer, who is now in a mess and confused below, and only felt amused. For decades, sisters, you're not as important as a man who once gave you an empty promise. Celeste suddenly started crying, 2 hot tears rolling down her cheeks. Sister, I really was wrong. Please forgive me. You still want to help me, which means you still have sisterly feelings for me, right? I gently shook my head. Helping you deal with those 2 bodyguards is just to let you know that in this society where people eat each other, relying on others is not as good as relying on yourself. Sister, I didn't give her a chance to speak again, and formed another ice crystal, piercing through her forehead. Human nature is complex, 1 thought for good, 1 thought for evil. 8. And I don't want to gamble on the complexity of human nature in the apocalypse. The main character is dead. What's the point of reading this stupid novel? Is the plot going off track? Are we going to have to start over? The previous female lead was killed, so let's change the female lead. I think Nora is also good, right? A post-apocalyptic base boss, and a superpowered beautiful girl. I can also ship this CP. The post-apocalyptic boss slowly warms her cold heart. Oh, so exciting. I ignored the chat messages and passed by Archer without hesitation, ending his life with a crystal of ice. It's not that I killed innocent people, but I had heard before that Archer was narrow-minded and vengeful. The post-apocalyptic base he built was supposed to be a shelter for refugees, but in reality, it was looting supplies, using cheap labor to fight zombies, and sacrificing human lives to expand the base. Such a person, once in power, would also be a future problem. After killing Archer, the chat messages that had been jumping wildly in front of my eyes suddenly disappeared. The world finally became quiet. I don't want to become the so-called female lead. I just want to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. After leaving the villa area, I recruited Archer's 2 bodyguards and their recreational vehicle. Those 2 bodyguards were elite among elites, each over 9 meters tall. With excellent physical fitness, skilled in martial arts and combat, in the apocalypse, fighting alone certainly doesn't have to worry about being stabbed in the back by teammates, but people inevitably have moments of drowsiness. Having teammates with interrelated interests can better adapt to the environment of the apocalypse, taking advantage of the early days of the apocalypse. I and my 2 bodyguard teammates looted 2 large supermarkets and 1 grain and oil station. Basically stockpiling supplies that could last a small team of 10 for 100 years. After collecting several off-road vehicles and bulldozers, we also gathered a lot of construction materials and tools, and then emptied a gas station of its gasoline. With the help of the space, we were able to gather a sufficient number of vehicles. In just a few weeks, we returned to my hometown Fuzhou. Fuzhou is surrounded by mountains and water, and most importantly, it has the 10,000 mountains. The terrain is rugged, undulating, and rarely visited. Later, I found 2 construction engineers and a chef who had also consumed the ice crystal grass. We selected a steep mountain slope in the mountains of Fuzhou, and using a natural cave as the foundation, we built an apocalypse fortress. The high-temperature apocalypse is still continuing, and I don't know when it will end, but even if it lasts 3 or 5 years, in this piece of paradise, it will be enough for me and my companions to live comfortably. Story 2. My fiancé hooked up with my green tea best friend and kicked me out to be devoured by zombies. After being reborn, I rented a house right across from ours in advance and hoarded supplies. I spent every penny of the dowry he gave me and the money he asked me to save for our wedding house renovation. When the zombie outbreak erupted again, I could finally lie on the balcony and watch this treacherous couple lovingly survive the apocalypse. 1. When I opened my eyes in bed, I thought I had experienced a terrible nightmare. In the dream, zombies gnawed my limbs down to bones and bloodied flesh, and my intestines were pulled out of my abdomen. The air thick with the stench of blood and decay, I lay rotting like carrion in the hallway, slowly losing my last breath in endless pain. So waking up suddenly now, my body still tingling with nerve pain, I couldn't move the limbs I had lost in the dream. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? My fiancé, who was playing with his phone beside me, asked as he saw me shaking and motionless, reaching out to hold me. Seeing Leo's face stirred a strong sense of nausea within me, and as soon as I could move my hands, my first reaction was to push him away. He was visibly annoyed by my sudden outburst, but quickly regained his composure and put on a smile. Honey, I have to go out today. Is there anything specific you want to eat? I'll bring it back for you tonight. Hearing this, I panicked and checked my phone. June 24th, 2064, 9:44 a.m., the same time, the same words. It turns out this wasn't a dream. I had died and been reborn the day before the zombie outbreak. Leo. Seeing me staring blankly at my phone, shook me. The renovation company will come to sign the contract after 10. Remember to make the payment. He reminded me, too. Leo had bought an apartment in full before our wedding, the very one I had moved into to live with him. When we discussed marriage, he asked me to spend the $500,000 I had saved from years of working on renovating this apartment. You have no parents, and after we marry, I will be your closest kin. Isn't this money our shared property? After we marry, your name will be added to the deed. It's your house too. Whether you pay now or later doesn't matter. The sooner we renovate, the sooner we can move in, right? Under his constant persuasion, I began to waver. Later, to show his sincerity in already considering me family, he proactively transferred $100,000 as a dowry to me. This move successfully dispelled my last reservations, and I signed the contract with the renovation company he chose without any investigation. Paying a $600,000 down payment, it turned out that this company was a shell company run by his brother. The $600,000 briefly passed through his brother Jack's hands, who kept a few thousand as a service fee, with the rest going into Leo's pocket. Not only did Leo swindle all my savings with his deception, but he also hooked up with my green tea best friend, Cynthia. After the zombie outbreak, Cynthia ended up trapped in my house, and I discovered something was going on between her and Leo after secretly checking his phone. I couldn't believe the chilling scoops waiting for me. In my past life, these two scoundrels trampled and toyed with my sincerity as if it were trash, and before I could settle the score, they threw me out to the zombies for the sake of hoarding supplies, leading to my desperate demise. If I don't avenge myself in this life, I can't forgive myself. Seeing my stiff expression, Leo thought I was just cranky from waking up and reminded me again. Snapping back to reality, I suppressed my anger and responded nonchalantly, unaware of anything amiss. He got ready and left. As I watched his car leave the complex from the balcony, I quickly packed some important belongings and clothes I had at Leo's place into a suitcase, also stuffing in the drone he bought, and then headed straight for the security booth at the complex entrance. There, a bulletin board set up by the property management usually displayed notices for lost items or rental information. I used to look at it when I passed by on my runs. Among the many rental notices, I quickly found the one I remembered and dialed the number. "Hello, is this Miss Jocelyn? I'm interested in renting your apartment. Are you available now to sign the lease?" The apartment advertised for rent by Miss Jocelyn was right across from Leo's house, since the two buildings were not too far apart. I noticed the tenants across the street moving out last weekend from my balcony. It seems Miss Jocelyn also lives in this neighborhood. Shortly after hanging up my call, she hurried over. Seeing me with my suitcase, she took the initiative to ask about my situation. I confessed that my engagement had ended due to my fiancé's infidelity, and having no parents to turn to, I had no choice but to move out on my own, out of a sense of solidarity between women. She offered to reduce the rent by $500 for me and said, "I'm older than you, just call me Sister Jocelyn." I had to move because my elderly parents came to live with me, and the apartment was too small. I bought a bigger one right across here in Building C, Unit 1701. It's very close. It's fate that we met. If you need anything, just come to me, or feel free to join me for meals anytime. Sister Jocelyn exuded the sincerity and warmth typical of northern women. I was very satisfied with both her and the apartment, and we quickly signed the lease and exchanged contact details. Just as she was about to leave after handing me the keys, I thought for a moment and stopped her. "Sister Jocelyn, if you trust me, you should reinforce your home's security today and stock up on some food, water, and daily necessities. There might be major disruptions tomorrow." Sister Jocelyn looked puzzled and asked what I meant by major disruptions and how I knew about them. All I could say was that I had some inside information, but it was inconvenient to disclose the details. She seemed to naturally trust me and simply said, "Okay," then urged me to also take care of myself before rushing off. I immediately called a locksmith to come and replace my door with a reinforced, thicker security door. Then a strange call came in, probably from the renovation company Leo had contacted, and I answered it. "Hello, is this Miss Shirley? I'm Jack from the renovation company. Here to sign the contract with you. I've been ringing your doorbell for a while without a response. Could you please open the door? I'm really sorry," I replied apologetically. "I had to step out suddenly. Could you come back in an hour?" The person on the phone eagerly agreed. After the locksmith changed the door, I slipped him some extra money to secretly change the locks on the communal doors as well, with each floor having only 2 apartments per elevator. Securing the communal door meant I had double protection. The locksmith had just left when the technician I had booked to install security grills and windows arrived. He was a straightforward man, shaking the invisible security net already installed on the balcony and saying, "The one you've got installed looks pretty good. Most people go for these invisible ones. The fully enclosed type affects the aesthetics, doesn't ventilate well, and is inconvenient for drying clothes." Facing such an honest person, I had to quickly make up an excuse. There was a burglary in this complex before, and the victim had this type of invisible grill, which didn't stop the thieves. I feel nervous every night, as if I can hear someone cutting through the security net. I'd rather enclose the balcony for peace of mind. Understanding my concerns, the technician no longer questioned my request to replace all windows with bulletproof glass and apply one-way film. He measured the dimensions and said he would prepare the materials back at the shop and could come in the afternoon to install them. After sending off the technicians, I rushed to the supermarket to stock up. Just as I reached the entrance of the Sam's Club supermarket, I received another call from Jack. "Miss Shirley, have you gotten home yet?" "Oh, I'm still running errands. Could you wait another hour?" The person on the phone sounded clearly displeased but agreed and then hung up. Entering the wholesale supermarket, I had a card with 600,000 on it. From the moment I woke up in the morning, the pent-up frustration that had been weighing on my chest suddenly found an outlet. I approached an employee, explaining that I was sent by the company's purchasing department to buy employee welfare products, and asked for a cart to be pulled for the goods I would select. Unsure how long the battle ahead would last, I mostly chose food with long shelf lives to ensure I wouldn't starve. Instant noodles, rice noodles, self-heating hot pots, canned meat, canned fruits, canned vegetables, dried meat, compressed biscuits, small bread, rice, flour, various sauces, peanut oil. Considering the electricity issue, I had already arranged for a technician to install 3 solar panels at my home in the afternoon. This should sufficiently power the 2 new freezers I purchased, so I added some frozen foods, frozen dumplings, steaks, fish fillets, chicken. The existing fridge in my house was planned for storing fresh vegetables and fruits, Chinese cabbage, onions, oranges, apples, corn, potatoes. Passing through the snack aisle, I picked up some of my favorite snacks, especially the sweet ones, chips, various flavors of chocolate, assorted candies, instant milk tea, instant coffee. Having nearly finished buying food, and since I had just rented a new house which was lacking in household items, I needed to buy everything: bedding, quilts, electric blankets, slippers, and consumables like toothpaste, toothbrushes, shower gel, shampoo, laundry detergent, tissue paper, sanitary pads. I checked the list of items I had prepared in advance. It looked like I had almost all the essentials. Then I suddenly remembered I had forgotten to buy a high-powered telescope. That was actually the main thing. After collecting all the items, the staff member led me through the bulk purchase checkout and I paid for home delivery directly to my house. Leaving the supermarket, while packing some common medications at the pharmacy, I received the 3rd call of the day from Jack. I picked up and immediately pretended to be in a rush. "Mr. Jack, I was just about to call you back. I just discovered someone used my bank card and entered the wrong PIN. It's been frozen. And I'm currently in line at the bank. Maybe you could come by tomorrow morning. I'm really sorry to have made you run around today. I'll pay you an extra $5,000 as compensation tomorrow. Is that okay?" While I was saying the first part, Jack was silent on the line, seemingly about to explode in anger, but after I finished, he switched to a genial tone. "No trouble at all. It's all good. I'll come by tomorrow at the same time. You take care of the bank card issue first." After hanging up, I couldn't help but chuckle to myself. Who says I can't act? Think only you, Jack, and Leo can. 5. Although I had almost all the supplies, I still felt uneasy. In my previous life, I was defenseless and completely at the mercy of that treacherous couple. This time, if they discovered me with a house full of supplies, they'd surely harbor even more malicious intentions. After much thought, I decided to equip myself with some hardcore defensive tools. First, to defend against zombie attacks, and second, to prevent any retaliation from that nefarious couple. I took a taxi to the hardware market and entered a tool shop where I bought a high-voltage electric stun baton, a rechargeable, extendable pruning saw, and barbed wire. With these items, if that treacherous couple dared to come near, I'd be ready to incapacitate them or even decapitate them. After making my purchases, I checked the time. It was about time for the technician to arrive at my home, after paying for home delivery. I started my taxi ride back. In the taxi, I called several nearby water delivery stations, ordering over 200 barrels of water and paid extra to have them delivered to my house. When I reached the front of my building, I found the technician and workers crowded in the hallway, waiting with materials for me. I quickly apologized and let them in to start the installation. Once the workers finished and left, I organized the delivered supplies. The 2 large rooms were packed, and the overflow had to be placed in the living room. By the time everything was settled, it was already dark. My phone showed 20 missed calls. About 10 were from Leo, and a few were from my so-called friend Cynthia. I locked the door, started down the elevator, and called Cynthia back. "Hello, Cynthia. I was busy just now and didn't hear my phone. What's up?" Cynthia's voice was soft and tearful on the phone. "Shirley, I had a fight with my boyfriend. I feel so blocked up inside. It's really tough. You were the first person I thought of. Men really aren't as good as sisters, are they?" Cynthia really has a knack for appearing vulnerable and providing emotional value. For someone like me, who grew up without the close presence of parents or siblings, what I truly crave is a constant, intimate connection. So in my past life, whenever Cynthia whimpered in front of me, I couldn't help but go through fire and water for her, giving her whatever she asked for. Low-level manipulators just charm men, but high-level ones are like psychologists, effectively manipulating both men and women. After hearing her words, I too appeared very anxious. "Why don't you spend the night at my place? Don't stay with that jerk anymore." Cynthia was still sobbing on the phone. "But it's so late now. It's very dark outside, and I'm scared to take a taxi alone." I immediately responded, "I'll take a taxi right now to pick you up." If she really didn't dare to come, wouldn't my script be missing its leading lady? I had to pick her up. As soon as I opened the door, Leo immediately stood up from the couch in the living room, visibly in a bad mood. But seeing Cynthia behind me, his mood seemed to stabilize. And he even spoke with a doting tone. "Oh, I was wondering why I couldn't reach you on the phone. So you were with her. Hey Leo, you're not really speaking to me, are you? Is it that Cynthia asked you to confront me, but you haven't gotten the money yet so you refuse, and then when she doesn't reply to your WeChat messages or answer your calls, you got annoyed and started bombarding my phone, planning to take your anger out on me? Guess if I'm right, but Cynthia, this manipulator, Slaps you then offers you candy, still making me go pick her up. Are you happy now, scumbag? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Cynthia pouting towards him, and Leo quickly averted his gaze unnaturally. It was too obvious. What in the world was clouding my judgment in my past life that I couldn't see these details? Leo casually asked me, "Did you get your bank card theft sorted out?" I pretended to be very troubled. No. When it was my turn, the manager had already left for the day. But the teller promised to reserve the first slot for me tomorrow morning. I'll go early to queue up. Hearing this, Leo couldn't say much and turned back to lie on the couch and play with his phone. I turned to Cynthia and said, "It's late. Why don't you go take a shower? The guest room is always ready for you. I even changed the sheets and duvet cover a few days ago." Cynthia happily pounced on me, kissing my face repeatedly. "I love you the most. Shirley. You're the closest sister to me in this life. You will always be my number one. My mom can only be second." Although internally I was rolling my eyes to the heavens, I kept up appearances and hugged her, smiling sweetly. "You're also my number one, Cynthia, and Leo is second. You're the first to die, Leo is the second." Happy with that arrangement, Leo glanced at us and jokingly said, "You sisters are really cheesy." I'm about to throw up. Honey, really? Aren't you the one who loves it when this flirty girl calls you cheesy things on WeChat? Honey, I can't sleep. Honey, I really want to hug you. Honey, can you kiss me more next time? When Cynthia heard Leo call me honey, she immediately let go of me and headed straight for the shower. The scumbag still has the nerve to be jealous in front of me. Just endure a bit longer. Surely, the happier this disgraceful couple is now, the uglier they'll cry later, at 4 a.m., when people are deep in sleep. I was excitedly wide awake. I quietly got out of bed and went to the storeroom, slowly pushing the largest suitcase next to the fridge and opening it. I gently opened the fridge door and started packing the food into the suitcase, emptying the fridge completely. I also stuffed all the edible items from the kitchen and living room into the suitcase, packing it fully. After closing and securing the suitcase, as I pushed towards the door, I heard a click, the sound of the main room's doorknob being twisted. Damn, Leo's awake. My heart sank. Dropping my suitcase, I squeezed into the narrow space between the refrigerator and the wall. Almost simultaneously, Leo emerged from his room, gently closing the door behind him. Did he hear me and get up to check? From where he stood, he could easily reach out and switch on the living room lights. He would see the large suitcase lying next to the fridge and the half of my body that couldn't fit into the crevice. My mind went blank. Just when I thought fate was playing with me again, he tiptoed towards the guest room without turning on the light or noticing the odd scene hidden in the darkness. About a minute later, I could hear Cynthia's soft, playful scolding from the guest room, "You're so bad," and Leo's voice, "Hushed, shush. Keep it down or you'll wake up the dead pig." Are you sure she hasn't noticed? I feel like the pig was acting weird today, but I can't quite put my finger on it. That fool is sound asleep with her head buried under the covers. Her pig brain doesn't know what's going on. I always bring you here to keep me company. Let me kiss you. I've missed you so much. When will you finally tell her? Seeing that ugly pig face every day makes me want to vomit. And you still call her wife in front of me. Baby, don't be mad. Once I get the money, I'll buy you that Chanel bag you liked. Behave, you promise. You better not back out. Ha ha ha. Every mocking word from those two, clear through the deathly quiet air, reached my ears. I trembled with rage in that filthy crevice, my skin burning with anger, laughing at my pig brain. I returned to the main room and stuffed Leo's phone, which he had forgotten in his rush to his affair, into my bag, still in my pajamas. I grabbed my suitcase and left the house without looking back. The first thing I did outside was lock those two cheaters inside the house. The second thing was to block Cynthia on WeChat and phone. I really wanted to see, in a few hours, which of them would realize who the real pig brain was. Back at my rented place, I locked the double doors. Surrounded by my belongings, I finally let out the breath I had been holding. I kicked the suitcase aside and stretched out on the new bed in the master bedroom. I would never have to lie next to that dirty dog of a man again. What a relief. What's there to be angry about now? At 9 a.m., my alarm clock rang, and I woke up refreshed. Sitting up in bed, I took out the cheating man's phone. In my previous life, I had already cracked his password. In this life, he didn't even know I was aware of his affair, let alone have time to change the password. I turned on the phone, unlocked it, and found over 100 missed calls and messages from Cynthia. Smiling, I walked to the balcony, comfortably lying on the rocking chair, peering through the telescope I had set up in advance. In the view, Leo was pacing the room, furious like a lion whose tail had been stepped on, amidst a mess of broken items. Cynthia was beside him, trying to calm him while making phone calls. I turned on the listening device receiver I had bought from a black market, and immediately Leo's crude swearing filled the air. If I catch you, Shirley, I swear. Wow, such a stream of profanity really pollutes the ears. I turned it off. Really, Leo, how are you going to host guests with the house in such a mess? I took out my phone and photographed all the explicit chats and videos between Leo and Cynthia from his WeChat, forwarding them to Cynthia's current boyfriend, Charlie. Cynthia, always disappointing in her decisions, but never in her taste in men. As they say, love is blind. Or simply low. As she seems to pick up men from the garbage, drawn to Leo by his stench. When I once considered her my closest friend, I really hated that she couldn't see the metal for the magnet, no matter how many times I scolded her. But scolding aside, every time she was tormented by various jerks, it was always me who rushed to the forefront to defend her. I even got myself into a lot of trouble, lost several jobs, and had to move houses multiple times, luckily. She didn't listen to me and ended up finding another jerk named Charlie who reached new heights of terribleness. Sure enough, Charlie called soon after. I gathered my emotions and answered. Charlie, sob, I want to apologize. No wonder you used to hit her. She really, sob, I don't even know what to do now. Charlie, please come and sort this out. Charlie shouted so loud on the phone it almost burst my eardrums. How dare you make a fool of me? I will butcher them. Send me your address immediately and keep an eye on them. Don't let them escape. I'm on my way. After hanging up, I immediately sent Charlie the detailed address and apartment number, and even told him where I hid the spare key. It's only a 10-minute drive from where he lives, so I wouldn't have to wait too long. Rubbing my hands in anticipation, I took the opportunity to unpack the suitcase I brought back from the jerk's house and stored the collected food in the fridge and cabinets. After finishing, I checked the time, and it was just a few minutes before 10. Oh boy, the show is about to start. Excited, I rushed to the balcony, turned on the receiver, adjusted the telescope, and looked across. Leo, exhausted from the commotion, was now sitting on the living room couch with a dark expression. Cynthia was soothingly patting his back. Honey, don't be angry, the locksmith will be here soon. Once the door is opened, I'll go with you to the service center to get a new SIM card and buy a new phone. I'll buy it for you. Don't be mad, honey. Sheesh, I really don't understand. What's wrong with her brain? Fawning over a scam artist. Leo irritably lifted his elbow and pushed Cynthia away, but she snuggled up to him again, all coy. Just then, the door was violently kicked open. The locksmith, Charlie, stormed in, seething with anger. Before the couple could react, Charlie grabbed Leo by the neck as if he was picking up a chicken, lifting him off the couch and throwing him viciously to the ground. The spot was covered with broken glass from a shattered cup, and Leo lay there curled up in pain. Before he could even groan, Charlie, like a massive boulder, sat on Leo and started pounding his head with his fists. Dare to touch my woman, you think you have too long to live. Sharp ceramic shards dug into his back, and his face took blows as large as from a cooking pot. Yikes, just thinking about it gave me goosebumps. Feeling the pain for Leo, Cynthia, likely feeling the pain emotionally too, started to pull at Charlie. She shouldn't have pulled. As soon as she did, Charlie remembered there was another despicable woman to deal with. He got up from the swollen-faced Leo and slapped Cynthia across the face. I see you've lived too long, haven't you? Not beaten enough usually. Giving you face. After saying that, he slapped her twice more. Cynthia was hit so hard that her nose bled, and she fell to the ground, crying with red snot all over her face. As I was busily moving the telescope left and right, tracking every exciting moment and expression, my phone rang. Reluctantly, I answered. Hello, Miss Shirley. It's Jack. I'm almost at the entrance of your building. Can you sign the contract as usual today? Oh dear, I was so engrossed in the excitement, I almost forgot about this minor character coming to deliver his head. I stood up and looked downstairs. Jack was about to enter building C where Leo lives. I quickly called out, Jack, I'm not home. I went to the bank early this morning. Jack stopped in his tracks, but I'm on my way back now. I'll be at the complex in about 10 minutes. Why don't you sit on the bench right across from building C's main entrance and wait for me? Don't move from there, or I might not find you later. Jack cheerfully agreed on the phone and turned to sit on the bench. Shortly after, an old man carrying a violin case approached the bench and started discussing something with Jack. I recognized that old man. He used to walk and shop with his wife every day. After returning to the neighborhood, the two individuals would instinctively sit down on that bench to rest. A few months ago, the old lady suddenly passed away from a heart attack, leaving the old man all alone. He would return to that same bench every day at around the same time, playing the Butterfly Lovers on his violin to commemorate his late wife. Residents of the neighborhood usually made sure to leave the bench empty for him out of unspoken agreement. However, at this moment, Jack was blatantly occupying the bench with a delinquent attitude, arms crossed and foot tapping, deliberately looking away. After failing to negotiate, the old man walked away dejectedly, his back hunched, and entered the door of the adjacent building. About 5 minutes later, several frenzied zombies suddenly emerged from behind Jack, biting at the arteries in his neck, causing blood to spray all over the ground. Simultaneously, horrifying screams echoed from every corner of the community garden. The whole garden erupted in chaos, with the living chased everywhere by zombies, and those bitten quickly turning into new zombies themselves, in just a matter of minutes. The area was swarming with mutated zombies, with no humans in sight. The outbreak of zombies occurred at exactly the same moment as in my previous life. The only difference was that I had rectified my past regrets by saving the devoted old man, and incidentally, I sent the con artist his last meal. That feeling was incredibly satisfying, humming happily. I readjusted my telescope to focus on the opposite side. The three people were now standing on the balcony looking down, their faces filled with horror, presumably having witnessed the terrifying scene of zombies mutating and attacking people below. Leo, his eyes swollen like purple buns, showed a deep resentment as he stared fixedly at a certain spot below. Following his gaze through the telescope, I saw it was the freshly turned one-armed Jack zombie. Still feeling sentimental about your brother, Leo, I'd advise you to worry more about yourself. Staying at home means living with Charlie without any food. Going out means ending up like me in my past life, torn apart by zombies in the stairwell. Considering your current situation, you're worse off than your brother. Leo, capable of orchestrating a pig butchering scam, was slightly quicker on the uptake than the other two fools. Like now, after the three of them numbly returned indoors, he was the first to realize their predicament. He knelt down with a slap in front of Charlie, beginning to cry bitterly, trying to shift the internal conflict onto me. Charlie, listen to me explain. It was all that bitch Shirley's doing. I don't know what she told you, but she took my phone. Now there's no proof. Everything relies on her word. Don't be fooled by that bitch. After finishing, he lunged towards the fridge and yanked the door open. Look, she took all the food from the house. Isn't it obvious? She set this trap in advance, including you in her scheme. Don't let her get away with this. Charlie, muscular and simple-minded, was quickly incited by Leo's few words, and immediately took out his phone to make a call. The phone rang. I quickly did 20 high knees on the spot, cleared my throat, and answered with a breathless, crying voice. How terrifying. The zombies. I almost got bitten to death. Sob sob. Charlie, are you all right at home? Charlie was momentarily stunned by my sudden concern, but quickly regained his accusatory tone. Shirley, are you setting me up? I boldly countered. Why would I set you up? Is Leo not admitting to you that he cheated? You saw those little videos. How could they be fake? Should I have kept it from you? Watching that bitch Cynthia continue to deceive you, and now with zombies everywhere, I almost didn't escape, and you're safe in my house, yet you say I'm setting you up. Charlie sounded less confident over the phone. Then, why is there no food at your house? I became even more agitated. I never cook at home. Whenever Cynthia comes over at mealtime, don't I take her out to eat? The food at home expired and I threw it out. Is this little thing worth your questioning? I was actually worried you wouldn't have anything to eat at my place, planning to ask a friend to send some food over, but now it seems you're in cahoots with Leo, still helping him to upset me, so the three of you are in love, and I'm the only one being played. Hearing that I might send food, Charlie quickly tried to smooth things over with a laugh. No, don't bother. Shirley, what's the rush? I was just asking casually. I didn't wait to hear the rest of what was being said and hung up the phone, setting it to do not disturb mode. Through the telescope, I could see Charlie desperately redialing my number several times, only to find that he still couldn't get through. In his frustration, he kicked Leo, who was kneeling next to him. It's all your fault for stirring up trouble, making me starve. I'll kick you to death, you troublemaker. He kicked Leo several more times in the stomach to vent his anger, until Leo couldn't even scream out in pain. Humph, Leo, now whoever has the supplies is the boss. Your dirty tricks pose no threat to me, but you won't get off easy after I retaliate. Thought I was as dumb as a pig. Ha, even a pig brain can outsmart you. That's pretty pathetic. For the next 3 days, the communication signals were fine, and Charlie kept trying to contact me. Each time he couldn't get through, he took out his frustrations on Leo and Cynthia, but on the 4th day, the network went down and the phone lines were dead. Overcome by extreme hunger, Charlie no longer had the strength to beat anyone, and all three collapsed on the living room floor. Compared to their hellish existence, living across the street felt like heaven. Not only did I have 3 meals a day with both meat and vegetables, my landlord, Sister Jocelyn, would frequently send over dumplings, pancakes, and other homemade dishes using her son's drone. She said that if it weren't for me, her family would not be so well prepared. It's strange how human connections work. She had only met me once but trusted me completely. The day we signed the lease, she took my advice, went home, and started stocking up supplies, filling her house to the brim. almost leaving no space to walk. The morning the zombie outbreak occurred, she blocked the door, crying and screaming, preventing her husband and son from going to work and school. Her family thought she had gone mad from some shock, but they eventually went along with her. It didn't take long before screams could be heard from beneath their garden. The whole family watched from the balcony, shivering with fear. Her mother-in-law even fainted and only woke up after taking some emergency heart pills. Now, both our households can live without any pressure, thanks to our supplies. Although I'm living much better than in my previous life, it doesn't mean my revenge is complete. On the contrary, if the scumbag and his mistress were to merely starve to death, it wouldn't be satisfying enough. I want them to experience the pain I once endured. At 4 a.m., the alarm I had set went off. While the three across the street were still asleep, I quietly packed a little food in a plastic bag and attached it to the drone's mechanical arm. Leo's balcony was conveniently without a security net. I maneuvered the drone over, placed the supplies on the ground, and then withdrew the drone. I then airdropped a screenshot message to Charlie's phone. "Take good care of them, I'll send more food later." After that, I went back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was already past 9 a.m. I hurried to the balcony to continue watching the situation unfold. Charlie sat on the sofa, nervously eating instant noodles while Leo and Cynthia kneeled in front of him. Cynthia, staring at the noodle bucket, pleaded pitifully, "Honey, I'm so hungry too. After you finish the noodles, could you leave some soup for me?" Charlie sneered coldly and finished the last bite of noodles before placing the bucket on the ground. "You can drink, but you'll drink it from the floor." Cynthia starved for over a day and night, lost all concern for appearances and began gobbling from the floor. She had barely taken a few bites when Leo pushed her away and took over. Cynthia probably never expected Leo, who always called her darling, to physically fight her over some noodle soup, and she began to wail bitterly, tugging at Leo's clothes as they scuffled. From my vantage point through the telescope, it was hard to see the details of their fight, but soon Charlie sent me a clear video showing both of them with disheveled hair and clothes, looking like beggars on the floor, mouths desperately reaching for the noodle bucket, with soup smeared all over their faces. Things were as messy as they could be. It seemed that after several days of hunger, Charlie had clearly realized whose advice to follow and whose side to stand on. After that, every mealtime, I could always receive timely videos of the loving couple dining together, sent by him. I must say, watching them eat was truly more appetizing than any mukbang. Day 64 after the zombie virus outbreak, just when we were beginning to enjoy some comfort, a sudden turn of events occurred. Around 9 a.m., several drones flew into our neighborhood, broadcasting a looped message through their speakers. "The vaccine for the zombie virus has been successfully developed. The government will soon begin clearing operations. Please continue to stay at home and take precautions. The dawn of victory is near." The survivors in the neighborhood cheered upon hearing the broadcast, but I couldn't feel happy at all. In my previous life, I died on the third day of the outbreak, so I had no knowledge of what happened afterward or how long it lasted. This time, I had survived for more than 2 months, aside from the communication networks being down. Water and electricity were still being supplied normally. I had a hunch that the virus was not entirely out of government control and that it might not last very long, but I didn't expect that the vaccine would be developed by the government so quickly. With the vaccine, even if humans were bitten by zombies, they wouldn't develop the disease, as long as a vaccine was administered to the survivors in each cleared area. The number of people available to clear the zombies would increase, and the progress would accelerate. In other words, in as little as half a month, the zombies across the country could almost be completely cleared. This situation was very disadvantageous for me. If those 3 people across from me survived till the end of this catastrophe and regained their freedom, their first action would surely be to join forces against me. No, I couldn't let that happen. Starting today, I needed to closely monitor every move they made and somehow cause discord among them. Unexpectedly, after hearing the news, Leo, without waiting for me to act, decided to strike first. One evening, while Charlie was asleep, he secretly approached Cynthia. "Our hard days are almost over, but we must deal with those jerks Shirley and Charlie now." Although Cynthia had fallen out with Leo, she nodded vigorously, teeth clenched, agreeing to his proposal. Then Leo started whispering in Cynthia's ear. The voice was too low for me to hear clearly. However, the next day, they made no moves. By the 4th day, our food supply had run out, and despite how much Charlie tried to contact me, he got no response. That's when Leo slowly spoke up. "Charlie, I think you should stop waiting. That bitch Shirley knows that the zombies will soon be cleaned up, and we will all regain our freedom. To prevent us from retaliating, she definitely won't send more food and wants to starve us to death." Charlie, already hungry and furious, exploded with rage at Leo's words. "If I get out, the first thing I'll do is kill that bitch." Leo immediately responded, "Charlie, if we're going to make a move, it has to be now. Think about it, once order is restored, doing something like that would be illegal, only now, when it doesn't matter if there's one less or one more, will no one care? Plus, she dared to send food before, which means she must have hoarded a huge amount of supplies. If we kill her, all those resources will be ours. Even if we eat to our heart's content every day. We might not finish them all by the time the zombies are cleared. We're going to starve if we stay here anyway, so why not fight with all we've got, right, Charlie? My heart smirked secretly, wondering where exactly they planned to fight, even if they knew I was nearby. The neighborhood was so large. Would they search every house? What I didn't expect, however, was that Leo had a trick up his sleeve, after Charlie agreed to join him in killing me. They immediately drew the curtains in the living room, blocking my view. I could only hear Leo's lowered voice through the bug. Once, I woke up in the middle of the night and happened to see the supplies being delivered from the window across by a drone, and yesterday, I secretly checked my phone's location on the computer and found it was also in the building across. With these 2 points, I'm pretty sure that bitch Shirley is hiding in the room directly across from us. We'll take up whatever weapons we can for protection, and they plan to force their way through, threatening to break down the door if it wasn't opened, and they wouldn't let her survive if she resisted, I heard them say, and I glanced downstairs. The zombies currently wandering the residential garden weren't numerous and were weakened by hunger, sluggish in their movements, but did they really think they could reach my door so easily? They were underestimating me, surely. I quickly cut my hand with a knife and smeared the blood all over a piece of clothing, which I then tied to a drone. After hearing the 3 of them leave their apartment via the listening device, I hurriedly launched the drone. The drone began to circle the garden, the strong smell of blood from the clothing inciting the zombies' bloodlust below. They became increasingly frenzied, relentlessly chasing after the drone. I maneuvered the drone towards Building C, and the zombies, in 3 layers thick, quickly surrounded its entrance. Just as I was about to rejoice over the success of my plan, a thought struck me. It was wrong. They could take the underground parking lot from Building C, a path better defended and more likely their choice. I quickly steered the drone into the entrance of the underground parking lot. After a while, I saw the 3 of them on the monitor, just having killed a zombie and running towards the door on the first underground floor of my building. I positioned the drone on a nearby horizontal beam. The horde of zombies, drawn by the noise, started to move towards them. On the screen, I clearly saw Leo, trailing behind, be the first to notice the pursuing zombies. He urgently tapped Cynthia on the shoulder. Cynthia looked back, understanding the situation. They each wielded a fire axe and a kitchen knife, striking down on the legs of Charlie, who was oblivious and running ahead. Charlie screamed in pain and fell, his leg wounds leaving deep trails of blood on the ground. The bloodthirsty zombies swarmed over him, engulfing him in their mass. As the parking lot echoed with Charlie's desperate curses and screams, the treacherous couple had used him as bait and successfully ran into the door of the underground floor, slamming it shut and disappearing into the corridor. 2 months later, this deceitful couple reappeared before me, professing their deep love for me. Leo, banging on the corridor door's glass, tears of longing in his eyes, pleaded, "Wife, I finally found you. It's so good to see you alive. I've missed you so much. I'll make up for my past mistakes 1,000-fold. Please just give me a chance to make amends." Cynthia, also crying at the glass, said, "Shirley, you're my lifelong best friend. If it weren't for the chance to see you again, I couldn't have endured. It was just a moment of foolishness. Can you forgive me? We've always said, no man can come between our friendship." Moved by their sincere apologies, I leaned against the doorframe, wiping a tear from my eye, and slowly said, "Since you both realize your mistakes, I won't hold it against you." Leo and Cynthia, pleased at first by my words, listened intently, but to prevent the same betrayal from happening again. "I can't accept all 3 of us living together anymore." Leo frowned, puzzled. "What do you mean?" I sighed. "It means I can only let one of you stay with me going forward, but since you both are important in my life, I can't choose." Leo quickly grasped the implication, his eyes earnest. "Then just let me in, wife. I'll marry you and spend my life making up to you. It was all Cynthia's fault. She seduced me. I never thought of betraying you." Cynthia, stunned, quickly objected, "Surely. Don't believe him. He got me drunk and took advantage when I was not in my right mind. You can't trust a scoundrel. Trust your best friend. Plus, he was just caught by a zombie. He's going to turn." Before Cynthia could finish, Leo furiously grabbed her by the throat. "What nonsense are you spouting? Where did I get caught? It's just a scratch." Following Cynthia's hints, I noticed the clear scratch marks on Leo's arm, bleeding. Feeling guilty, he decided to play his final card. pushing Cynthia towards the stairwell while clutching her neck. "It's you who wronged my wife. I need to punish you, you traitor. Go die." He then threw her into the depths of the stairwell, slamming the stairwell door shut. Indifferent to Cynthia's cries, bangs on the door, and even her painful screams as she was bitten by nearby zombies. This intensity was just like the time he threw me out in our previous life, after Leo did all this. He turned around and said to me tenderly outside the hallway door, "Honey, I've avenged you. Now please, open the door for me." Smiling, I walked over with the keys, unlocked the door, and as he happily tried to slip through the crack, I seized the moment he was off guard. Suddenly, I grabbed the stun gun I had hidden behind my back and jammed it into his stomach. The high voltage immediately caused him to lose most of his consciousness, and he convulsed and fell to the ground. As I continued to administer electric shock therapy while crouching down, I explained to him with a smile, "Honey, thank you for avenging me, but your current situation is quite dangerous, so I had to treat you specially. I believe the authorities will have a way to save you." 10 days later, the doorbell at my home rang. "Ma'am, we are from the authorities, here to administer an anti-zombie virus vaccine to survivors. How many survivors are there in your household?" I happily opened the door and honestly reported to the staff, "There are 2 of us, myself and my fiancé." "Then please have your fiancé come out, we'll register his information and then we can administer the vaccines." I hesitated. "He's not really in a position to come out, his condition is a bit special." Upon hearing this, the staff member turned and nodded towards the back, and then 2 burly staff members approached, flanking me. "Ma'am, please lead us to see your fiancé." Confused, I asked, "What is this for?" The staff did not respond directly. "You just need to cooperate with us, and we will provide you with assistance." Reluctantly, I took the keys and led them to the door of the small room, cautioning them to be careful before opening it. Leo, who had turned into a zombie, was wandering inside the room. Seeing the door open and what looked like a feast outside, he lunged forward in frenzy, before he could get close. However, 2 officers in riot gear rushed from behind me. One skillfully netted his head, while the other chopped it off with a machete. The action was so smooth that hardly any blood was spilled. The 2 staff members beside me, dumbfounded, pulled me away from the scene while their colleagues began the disinfection and cleanup. A staff member holding a clipboard comforted me. "Your fiancé had already turned into a zombie, and the vaccine would have been of no use to him. We have dealt with many such cases. You are not alone, so try to accept this reality. It's tough for everyone, and we hope you can handle such situations more rationally in the future. Thank you for your cooperation." Tears in my eyes, I nodded. "Thank you for guiding me. I will certainly correct my errors and handle things more rationally in the future." After the room was disinfected and cleaned, they checked the remaining 2 rooms to ensure I didn't have any other family members hidden. Then a female staff member checked me for any wounds from zombie scratches before administering the vaccine to me. 10 days later, communication networks began to recover. News that domestic zombies have been eradicated and all survivors have been vaccinated dominated the headlines on all major social media. Sister Jocelyn called me immediately after seeing it. "Sis, did you see the news? Oh my gosh, we're finally free. Come over to my place for a meal to celebrate. Our whole family can't wait to see you." Though I lost my fiancé, I gained a sister who thinks of me every day and a whole family of real relatives. Looking at it this way, I guess I didn't come out at a loss, right? Story 2. I was reborn a month before the apocalypse, right at the moment when the scoundrel proposed to me. Watching their hypocritical performance right in front of me, I couldn't help but sneer. This time, "You think you can step on me to climb up over my dead body?" 1. When I opened my eyes again, Donovan was kneeling in a cafe with a cheap woven ring, proposing to me, while Esther, the opportunist, cheered him on with the crowd around us. I was stunned for a moment, then it hit me. I had been reborn at the exact moment when the scoundrel was proposing. In my previous life, it was after his successful proposal that I gave him the family heirloom ring as an engagement gift. This deceitful couple had been secretly involved long before. Moved into my house after causing my parents' deaths, and even after plotting against me, they got married in my own home. They accidentally discovered a special space within the ring and used it to hoard supplies, coercing and enticing people with these resources to become leaders in the post-apocalyptic world. They thrived, while my family and I were reduced to vengeful spirits, living again. I coldly stared at Donovan kneeling before me, looking at that face I once loved so dearly. Now only finding it ridiculous. "Faith, why aren't you saying anything? If you don't agree soon, Donovan will lose face." Esther pushed me, clearly annoyed. "If you care so much, why don't you marry him?" I glared at her fiercely, barely holding back the urge to lash out at her. Esther was taken aback by my harsh tone, staring at me incredulously. In my previous life, I was known for being too soft and easily manipulated by her. Plus, since my family had sponsored her education, I used to talk to her carefully, always mindful of her pride, afraid of making her feel looked down upon. Bah, this lifetime, I wouldn't coddle her like I would a dog. What right do you have to talk to me like that, just because your family spent money? Do you think you can humiliate me? Does having money make you better than me? Esther started to make a scene again, tears welling up, which only disgusted me more. What else then? Should I serve you like a slave because my family paid for your schooling? If you have so much pride, why accept my family's help at all? Why bite the hand that feeds you? I sat back, crossing my legs with a defiant attitude. To you, Esther was completely unprepared for my response and burst into tears. Donovan, unable to stand it anymore, tugged at my arm, his voice filled with dissatisfaction. Faith, don't go too far, Esther means well for us. I looked coldly at Donovan, still kneeling, but his eyes kept darting back to Esther with pity. Such a loving couple, how am I being unreasonable? You're my boyfriend, and yet you're already siding with her before we're even married. How can I trust you? I deliberately fanned the flames. You're my girlfriend, but Esther is like our sister. Of course, we need to take care of her. How can I just watch you bully her, Donovan? Seeing that I wasn't backing down, grew angry too, stood up, and withdrew his hand holding the shabby ring, saying indignantly, if this is your attitude, then perhaps we shouldn't continue this. That's exactly what I was waiting for. I've been wanting to say that to you for a long time. With someone like you, who's nothing more than a pretty face, I wouldn't even consider letting you into our family. Dream on about continuing this. Take your trashy ring and get lost, and remember. It was I who dumped you. I stood up straight. What? Donovan was stunned, and so was Esther. This was not how they expected things to unfold. They both knew very well that without winning me over, they would have no access to my family's power, wealth, and resources, especially Esther, who, after falling out with me, might not even have the money to pay her tuition. Stop dreaming about clinging to the rich. Watching their hypocritical faces, watching the murderers who brought ruin to my family. I wanted nothing more than to tear them limb from limb, to kill them where they stood, but I knew clearly that now was not the time to act. With the virus outbreak a month away, I couldn't afford to kill them yet, as drawing police attention would only complicate matters. The priority was to protect my parents, stock up on supplies, and prepare for the impending apocalypse. As for them, I would make them pay back everything they owed me, make their lives a living hell. I ignored the shameless pleas of those scoundrels, turned around, and headed home. In my past life, blinded by love, I let a wolf into the house and got my parents killed. Seeing my family again in this life, tears immediately streamed down my face. Seeing me cry startled my parents, who quickly came to comfort me. What's wrong, sweetheart? Who's been bullying you? My mother asked, pulling me into her arms with concern. It's nothing. I just missed you both, I said, my voice tinged with emotion. My father chuckled indulgently. You're all grown up and still crying. Your mom and dad are always here for you, will always love you. Hearing this made me feel even more guilty. My parents had never liked Donovan much, but they had agreed to our relationship after my relentless pleading. They had wholeheartedly welcomed this future son-in-law, providing money and effort, not knowing that Donovan, in order to be with Esther, had lured them out knowing full well about the zombies outside, leading to their deaths. In this life, I would never let my parents suffer like this again. I've broken up with Donovan, I declared nonchalantly. My parents clearly didn't believe me. In the past, I had even run away from home for him. It's true, we really broke up, I asserted firmly. Seeing my tears earlier, they reluctantly believed me. My dad suddenly burst into laughter. That's wonderful. I knew that boy was no good for you, having been in business for so many years. I could tell he had a deceitful heart and was too scheming. If you had ended up with him, you would have suffered. I nodded repeatedly. Right, we need to start stockpiling at home, things like instant noodles, biscuits, food, vegetables, clothes, the more the better, enough to last 3 to 5 years. Also, we should check the solar power system in our villa, and maybe even get a well dug in our yard. I quickly started giving instructions. My parents thought my ramblings were due to the shock of the breakup. It's true, a zombie virus outbreak will happen in a month. We need to survive. I revealed the truth to them. I carefully explained to my parents about my past life, how I was betrayed, how our family was victimized, and how I was thrown out of the car to be fed to the zombies. My mom cried uncontrollably, and my dad's eyes reddened with anger, his body trembling. Believing my words, they began quietly purchasing supplies and modifying our home to prepare for the end of days. Our family's villa in the distant suburbs, not densely populated, offered us many advantages. The walls needed to be heightened, made of poured concrete, with an electric net on the outside and spikes on top. The bricks of the glass curtain walls were solar-powered, capable of converting into electricity for daily use. We bought a bunch of large freezers for the dining area and even built a cold storage to keep frozen goods. The basement was divided into several secret tunnels and shelters, just in case. The workers said the work would take 20 days, no problem. With quintuple wages and working through the night, we managed to complete all the renovations and preparations in just 10 days. Thus, our apocalypse shelter was established. At that time, the lousy guy still had no clue about the secret of the ring. My family and I discovered the space within the ring, which both shocked and delighted my parents. With this treasure, our chances of survival greatly increased. We packed the space with long shelf-life instant foods, noodles, flour, grains, emergency flashlights, anti-inflammatory medicines, medications for colds, fevers, diarrhea, and other common ailments, as well as hemostatic bandages and stun guns for self-defense. This way, even if someone did break in, they wouldn't be able to take our life-saving supplies. In the apocalypse, money is the least valuable thing, so my parents quickly liquidated our assets, exchanging them for supplies and gold bars to ensure we could rise again if the chaos ever ended. With all prepared, there were less than 20 days left before the outbreak of the zombie virus. Unexpectedly, before the zombies appeared, that despicable couple came knocking first. Donovan, are we at the wrong place? Faced with the nearly 10-meter-high wall, Esther and Donovan were silent for a full half-hour. If not for the GPS repeatedly confirming their arrival at the destination, they would have suspected they had ended up near a prison, with its high walls and barbed wire. Anyway, we need to clear up this misunderstanding, otherwise, it's going to cause a lot of trouble for you. Esther, Donovan said insincerely. Esther nodded hurriedly and then dialed my phone. If worst comes to worst, I'd just appease them for now and secure the living expenses first. At that moment, I was inventorying over 100 boxes of snail noodle, crawfish-flavored noodles, compressed biscuits, nuts, instant noodles, milk, and frozen steaks. When my phone lit up and I saw Esther on the screen, I decisively hung up. She called again, and I hung up again. Repeating this 3 times before I finally blocked her, she was just slowing down my stalking speed. 500 bottles of white liquor, 250 bottles each of strong and light aroma types, 200 cases of beer, 600 packs of cigarettes, 200 kilograms of tea, 500 kilograms of sugar. These were all valuable commodities in the apocalypse. As I inventoried them, I categorized and packed everything into the space with my parents, and let's not forget about various seeds for plants and crops. Food supplies will run out, but with seeds, we can grow an endless supply. There were also various books like Crop Cultivation Manual, So Breeding, Medical Encyclopedia, Wilderness Survival Guide, along with my favorite comic books, and novels about corporate tycoons, and game cartridges. I was bustling about inside the house, completely unaware that outside, Esther's face had turned stormy, on the other end of the phone, listening to the busy tone. Esther was almost grinding her teeth in rage. What's so great about Faith's family? They just paid for my tuition and living expenses. Just because they have money, they look down on people, she thought. Donovan, seeing his sweetheart distressed, comforted her. Don't worry, Esther, once I deal with Faith and take over their family business, you'll never have to suffer again. He confidently pressed the doorbell of our family's villa, already armed with a plethora of sweet nothings, and then he was electrocuted. I had modified the doorbell into a stun button. A whopping 2,000 volts of electricity knocked the jerk to the ground instantly, his hair standing on end, hands curled like chicken claws, eyes rolling back. Donovan, what's wrong with you? Esther, seeing Donovan convulsing and foaming at the mouth, was terrified. She pulled out her phone to call the police or an ambulance, but suddenly, there was no signal at all, because I had turned on the signal jammer. Our villa was incredibly isolated when we bought it, far from any village or store, with the nearest detached neighbor a mile away, surrounded by tall trees and bushes. It sounds nice to say it's well-greened, but frankly, it's a place where not even birds would poop. No, birds do poop. A crow, appearing from nowhere above, cawed loudly as it flew by, dropping its waist midair. It landed squarely on Esther's face, nearly falling into her mouth, causing her to curse vehemently without any regard for her image. Before she could recover, suddenly more crows appeared, hovering above her. They unleashed a barrage of droppings like rain, covering her from head to toe. Donovan, standing below, didn't escape either. It was I who played some crow-sensitive sounds to lure them over. Both of them hadn't even stepped through the door when they were drenched in a mix of yellow and white bird droppings, the watery kind, which startlingly woke Donovan up. Esther was shocked, scared, and disgusted, dodging and yelling in a terribly awkward plight. My parents and I watched their embarrassing ordeal on the surveillance camera, laughing heartily from inside the house. Faith, how did you come up with this idea? Putting laxatives in the bird feed? Ha ha ha, brilliant. Look at Donovan, totally baffled as he got up from the ground, his hair looking like it was styled with aluminum foil. Ha ha. My dad was laughing so hard he couldn't straighten up, and my mom was wiping tears from her eyes. As they laughed, the old couple couldn't help but cry. Esther and Donovan, two individuals whom they treated as dearly as their own daughter and as a future successor, ended up betraying us, leading our family to ruin. Moreover, in a past life, Esther and Donovan usurped our family's house, using its advantageous location to survive until they discovered a new realm and began to thrive. Now, how could I let these two swines covet my family's sanctuary again? So I decided to take the initiative. As they were cursing outside the door, the high gate opened, and I walked out. Accompanying me were some extras my parents had paid a hefty sum to hire. The show was just beginning. Seeing me, Donovan, remembering the mess he got into while looking for me, instantly flew into a rage and started berating me. Faith, what do you mean by this? I genuinely brought Esther here to apologize to you and to clear up our misunderstanding, and you didn't open the door for ages. And then, he was cut off mid-sentence by Esther, who tugged at his sleeve, only then noticing the dozen or so men in black suits and sunglasses behind me, each looking menacing with the leader sporting a long scar on his face, facing this formidable group. Donovan swallowed hard and instinctively took a step back. Do you guys know this young lady? The leader asked. His voice raspy and gruff as if choked with phlegm from 1982, cold and ruthless. His followers, with tattooed arms and thick gold chains, looked ready for violence, almost blatantly broadcasting their mafia affiliations. Before Donovan could speak, a sack dropped from one of the men's hands, spilling out a bloody arm. Esther screamed in terror and hid behind Donovan, trembling. What's your relation to this young lady? Her parents fled after failing in their business and borrowing a huge sum from us at high interest rates. We've come to collect the debt, a life for a debt. Since you know her, you might as well stay. The leader sinisterly smiled, his acting quite convincing. Donovan, save me, I grimaced, recalling all the misfortunes of my past life, finally managing to squeeze out a few tears. Donovan and Esther, petrified, watched as I was held by the mafia. The image of the arm in the sack sending chills down their spines. No, I don't know her, Esther stammered, hastily trying to distance herself from me. I pretended to be shocked, my eyes wide as I looked at her, then turned with an expectant, pleading gaze toward Donovan. Donovan hesitated for only 3 seconds before he declared, I know her. Oh, I was quite surprised, and the gang members also watched him with interest. She's the other woman. The kind who ruins relationships with girlfriends. I'm here today to confront her. Don't believe me? Look, this is my girlfriend, Donovan said, pointing at Esther and lying effortlessly. His acting was Oscar-worthy. Even the gang members were taken aback by his performance. So, boss, I'm with you guys. We all have a bone to pick with Faith's family. Look at what she's done to me, Donovan said, pointing to his messed up hair. His logic scoring full marks. You make a good point. The lead gang member nodded thoughtfully, pleased Donovan greatly. Suddenly, the boss slapped Donovan twice, back and forth across his face. But I'm not one for a reason, the boss said coldly. I might look the part, but I'm not the one you deal with. What do I care if she's the other woman or the fourth woman? Why are you hitting people? Esther asked weakly. It was my turn to step forward and I slapped Esther twice as well, sending her stumbling to the ground. When did the real girlfriend pop up? I had no idea, and a real girlfriend helping her boyfriend propose. Looks like you really love being cheated on, I said coldly, staring at Esther. My eyes were filled with murderous intent, and Esther was terrified. Faith, why do you have to be so harsh? Esther cowered, not yet recovered from the shock, and received 2 more slaps from the boss. Weren't you saying you didn't know her? How do you know her name now? I hate liars the most. The boss's scarred face twisted angrily. Esther was tearful and dared not speak anymore, while Donovan frowned, still figuring out how to escape. Silence fell over them. They thought by being quiet, they could avoid attention, but the boss and his men beat them up again, fiercely and brutally. In the chaos, I took the opportunity to kick them in unspeakable places. Why hit us when we're silent? Donovan and Esther, bruised and battered, were on the verge of tears. It's hot and I'm irritable. Don't mess with me if I'm not smiling, the boss said coldly. Why don't you hit her? Esther trembled, pointing at me. The boss raised an eyebrow and smirked. You think I'm a fool? She's my creditor. If I hurt her, who will pay me? That made perfect sense, and they were left speechless. Boss, now that these kids have discovered our base, what if they talk and the cops come knocking? Might as well finish what we started. One of the gang members suggested, making a throat-slitting gesture. The gang leaders looked menacing, and Donovan and Esther's legs gave out. They never imagined that a simple scam at my house could lead to their heads rolling, crying out loud in fear and begging for mercy. Faith, you jinx, it's all because of you that I ran into these gangsters, Esther cried bitterly, tears streaming down her face. Why did you come looking for me? I asked, puzzled. Of course, for living expenses. Faith's family promised to support me until I graduate from college. And I haven't received the money for March yet, Esther said, straightening up and speaking righteously. Oh, right, with all the chaos and our falling out, I indeed hadn't continued supporting Esther. I never expected her to have the nerve to come asking. I glanced at the bird droppings scattered everywhere. Today's rain wasn't as heavy as the day Yuping asked her dad for money. How come Esther has the audacity to poach right under my nose? Even daring to ask my family for money, Esther. Sensing what I was thinking, stiffened her neck and told Donovan, Donovan and I are truly in love. How deep is your love? I really wanted to know. About a sister I've always cared for deeply, and a man I wanted to spend my life with, till the heavens fall and the seas dry up, till the end of the world, Esther said confidently. Donovan quickly nodded in agreement. Then why come to me? I asked sarcastically. Donovan choked. Indeed, he had originally come to reconcile with me. How could he support his beloved Esther without money? But he quickly argued. I was worried you might mistreat Esther, so I came with her. She is my true love. To die together. Big Brother Tattoo, intrigued, leaned forward with his machete, its cold gleam reflecting their anxious faces. Donovan remained silent, while Esther shakily nodded. Big Brother Tattoo mused. Isn't that like sealing your fate? Damn, Big Brother is a genius. Why didn't I think of that, seeing their steadfast love? I suddenly had a new idea, to lock this star-crossed pair in fate. Only about 10 days left until the zombie virus outbreak. I figured all I needed to do was secure my family's shelter and lie low. Instead of exacting revenge myself, wouldn't it be more satisfying to let them destroy each other? I had the guys stage a dramatic scene with hammers, machetes, chainsaws, and axes. The leader, smoking a cigarette, calmly asked Donovan, only one can live. Who do you choose? Donovan didn't hesitate to choose Esther. He was with me just for money anyway. Now that he saw my family was bankrupt, and with no house or money left, getting involved with the underworld could even cost him his life. Only a fool would choose me. So the guys, wielding their weapons, dragged me into the villa because of Donovan's choice, deciding to kill me. Inside, we set up a table and played cards while pretending to be in distress. The guys banged on metal, and I screamed dramatically. Donovan, you are so cruel. Donovan, Esther, you are murderers. I will never let you go. Donovan, 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 save me, save me. I screamed so realistically that even the crows outside took flight. The more Donovan and Esther heard, the more terrified they became. When the guys threw fake blood packets from under the door, Donovan and Esther fled in utter panic. From the surveillance footage, I saw Esther fall face first twice, and Donovan tumbling and scrambling away. After such a terrifying experience, they wouldn't dare mention me at school or return to this nightmarish place. Without them revealing the location, this place remained temporarily safe. I called Trump. I threw down 3 cards, feeling quite pleased. Triple aces. Bomb. Big Brother played his hand, excitedly spitting as he spoke. I pass. Come on. From 4 to K. Big Brother threw his cards. I pass. 3 threes. I pass. 1 king. And it's over, ha ha ha. Pay up. Pay up. Big Brother clapped and laughed loudly. My parents brought in some freshly cut watermelon, smiling happily as they watched us, their mood also unusually relaxed. I reserved the best room in the house for the guys and gave them all the expensive equipment and medicine. After the guys retreated, my parents and I started to simply live in seclusion, spending our days gardening and growing vegetables, caring for birds, feeding fish, wholesaling and stockpiling supplies, and repeatedly checking the power system. It's all been fortified again and again, including the basement and the secret passages. I also prepared a special gift for Esther and Donovan. Comfortable days passed by in the blink of an eye, with sleep and waking marking the time. Suddenly one day, a loud thud came from beyond the wall. I turned on the surveillance to see a bloody, disfigured face repeatedly slamming into the perimeter wall, persistently and mindlessly. Until half of the skull was shattered, the zombie virus had erupted. I activated the high-voltage electric grid defense system, and the zombies outside instantly turned into ashes, silencing the chaos. In the living room, my parents and I turned on the TV. The news was urgently broadcasting several incidents of people attacking others in the streets. Those people had blood-red eyes and twisted limbs, wildly rushing into the streets, biting anyone they caught. The news suggested it might be rabies and advised everyone to be cautious when going out, but I knew it wasn't that. The virus spread rapidly. By the end of the day, nearly 1/5 of the population was infected. In my past life, it was on the day of the outbreak that Donovan and Esther tricked my parents into going out, leading to their deaths from bites. As expected, during a live broadcast, a zombie suddenly rushed into the frame, biting off the neck of the host. Then the camera wildly shook, crashed down, and the feed stalled, showing only a few pairs of feet shuffling past and blood dripping down. The city quickly plunged into panic. More frightening than the virus was the human heart. The first day People were still queuing in supermarkets to buy supplies. By the second day, looting and smashing had begun. All stores, including fruit shops, were ransacked. In places without zombies, humans were fighting each other bloodily. Someone started a live broadcast of this apocalypse, resembling a horror movie. Huddled in a cramped room, they started with eating instant noodles, then dry bread, and eventually paste. Outside the door, a girl's cries for help could be heard. The broadcaster, looking through the peephole, saw her weak and fragile. The girl pitifully knocked on the door, saying zombies were chasing her downstairs and crying for help. The broadcaster, unable to bear it, opened the security door. The moment the lock was opened, the door was violently pushed open. A boy with a baseball bat rushed from the girl's side, knocking the broadcaster unconscious and pushing him out. The boy and girl then slipped in and locked the door, well practiced in their routine, these two. I knew all too well. It was Esther and Donovan. It seemed this was not their first time using Esther's frail image as bait to trick kind-hearted people into opening their doors, then taking over their rooms and resources. When they ran out of food, they would move on to the next target. I never expected them to be so vicious in the second life. Damn, looks like this guy was broke. There's nothing here but a few bags of flour. Donovan grumbled discontentedly. Esther, a bit frightened, tried to comfort him. They eagerly scavenged for food, unaware that the phone live streaming everything was still on. Unfortunately, Esther couldn't cook. The precious flour of the apocalypse was ruined by her, and Donovan struggled to swallow it, complaining as he ate. Outside, there was more knocking on the door. The original owner of the house had woken up, pleading outside, "Let me in, please let me in, the zombies are coming up." The video captured the original broadcaster's woeful cries, which soon turned into screams that gradually weakened. Inside, the two listened to the wailing and fighting outside, along with the banging against the security door. They stoically ate the disastrously messy dumplings without changing their expressions. "They're such bastards. This is murder. Where's the humanity?" Mom and Dad pounded the table in anger. I shook my head, picked up a sizzling piece of grilled meat, and placed it on their plates. They won't be arrogant for long. One's a selfish diva, the other, a vicious egomaniac. Right now, they're just bound by mutual benefits. If they were on opposing sides, would their bond be as strong as gold? Just wait and see. Mom and Dad sighed, then lowered their heads and happily took a bite of the pork belly. I placed small sausages on the grill, followed by mushrooms, potato slices, beef skewers, and chicken cartilage. The delicious aroma of the barbecue dispelled the gloom of the zombies roaming outside. Especially when compared to the pasty dumplings shown on the livestream, our barbecue smelled even more tantalizing. The livestream continued intermittently as the power supply in the high-rise became unstable and the indoor temperature once spiked to 40 degrees, turning the water murky and unreliable. Outside, the zombies' howls and banging could be heard, despite the security door being theoretically hard to break through. The intermittent pounding still made us anxious and tense, especially during the dead of night when a sudden loud bang would make it seem as if the monsters could break in at any moment, causing sleepless nights. The remaining flour became even more precious. Esther and Donovan learned to eat boiled paste like noodles, starving and parched. However, the original owner of the house, possibly killed by them, seemed to linger outside with a persistent spirit, preventing them from finding a new refuge. They knew that if they didn't leave, even if they weren't bitten by zombies, they would starve to death trapped inside. I surveilled their location with a drone. Traffic had come to a standstill, and the entire city seemed frozen, with only zombies shuffling aimlessly. Any noise would attract a swarm of them, turning those once brightly dressed people into decaying walking dead. Esther and Donovan drew large SOS and alive signs on the windows, hoping for rescue. The only time there was a disturbance, a zombie climbed up to the third floor and almost shattered the glass. They hid under the table, not daring to make a sound as they watched the zombie's rotten face press against the glass, nearly driving them insane. From then on, they dared not sleep during the day, constantly on edge as if living years in a day. Meanwhile, I lay comfortably in an air-conditioned room eating ice cream, watching a Crayon Shin-chan movie on a 70-inch projector. My parents were in the next room watching a patriotic war drama, occasionally bursting into laughter and discussing the plot. The room temperature was around 26 degrees, and the scallions I planted a few days ago were thriving on the windowsill. Since our villa was located in a remote area, the risk of infection was minimal. Occasionally, a few zombies, possibly mutated neighbors or housekeepers, would stagger into our property only to be electrocuted by the high-voltage security. Unable to even approach the fence, in this apocalypse-safe house, I spent each day deciding what to eat, and in just half a month, I had gained 8 kilograms. My parents, having retired from years of business, were enjoying a rare relaxation and time together. Observing the chaos and bloodshed outside, we couldn't help but reflect on the stark contrasts of life. My daily pleasures included binge-watching shows, snacking, watching apocalypse live streams, and surveying the city with my drone. I recorded the coordinates of survivors, airdropping them life-sustaining food, except for Esther and Donovan. When they were nearly starved and on the brink of a mental breakdown, I sent them a gift, a location of a shelter sufficient for months of survival. This was a room I had previously rented and then remodeled. Stocked with food and supplies, prepared for them, a tomb of love, just a kilometer away. To know the entry code, they had to lock each other up. Yes, literally lock each other up. To open the door to the house at that address, they had to first chain themselves together with a chain I had prepared in advance. Only then would the sensor door open. I remember when this couple came to me, they had said they loved each other to the ends of the earth, that they would stay together even in death. Of course, I was only too happy to oblige them. In this apocalypse, I offer you eternal love. 10. Despite their skepticism about the mysterious letter delivered by the drone, they had no other choice, but the room they were trapped in was cut off from water, electricity, and food supplies, so they fought their way through, barely managing to eliminate the zombies at the door and hijacked a car. Under relentless pursuit by hordes of zombies, they finally made it to the address I had given them. The place was surrounded by surveillance cameras I had set up. I watched as zombies, screeching behind them, reached their hands through the door. Donovan held the door firmly against them, and the zombies' hands were severed, twitching on the ground for a few moments, unaware of pain. The zombies continued to pound fiercely, their noise attracting even more of them. Are you done yet? Hurry up, hurry, Donovan urged, sweating profusely. It's done, Esther, with a crying voice. Tremblingly chained their feet together with the 2-meter-long chain I had prepared. As soon as the chain was secured, the sensor door beeped open. Donovan and Esther exchanged a glance and immediately dashed inside. Donovan ran quickly, Esther slower, and their mismatched pace almost tripped them over the chain. Donovan rushed through the door first, and with no one to hold it, zombies immediately followed, although not very fast. The narrow corridor almost allowed several zombies to catch Esther. Esther, panicked and frightened, was about to enter the door but accidentally fell at the entrance, screaming for help in terror. Donovan, who was about to close the door, saw Esther lying at the entrance and the zombies about to pounce. Gritting his teeth, he pulled on the chain with all his might, dragging Esther inside. The moment the door closed, the zombies slammed heavily against it. The two collapsed on the floor. Relieved to have survived, when they regained their senses, they noticed the room was full of supplies. Esther, who hadn't eaten in days, started devouring the food without concern for her appearance. Donovan, while eating bread, looked at Esther with a hint of disdain as she smacked her lips in a messy state. Eventually, he couldn't help but say, Esther, you fell just now and almost got us killed. Do you realize that? Esther paused, incredulously looking at Donovan, and asked, Donovan, are you blaming me? Donovan pursed his lips, glanced at the chain linking their feet, and said nothing more, but his meaning was clear. Esther took a deep breath and said sharply, if you hadn't run so fast, I wouldn't have been dragged down. My ankle got scraped when you pulled me through the door, and I haven't blamed you. How can you have the nerve to blame me? Donovan didn't respond, but Esther kept talking until Donovan begged for forgiveness and admitted his mistake. Sitting in the basement of my villa, I turned off the lights and plugged in my PS5 to play Dark Souls. As I explored ruins and slaughtered monsters in the game, I listened to Esther's neurotic ramblings and Donovan's subdued arguments through the monitor, feeling the cracks forming in their love, which was supposed to be stronger than gold. 11, based on the progress bar of their previous life. Their love should have heated up quickly in this apocalypse, leading them to form an alliance and become a couple united forever, but all of this was predicated on them seizing my family's wealth and treasures. In a world where survival hinges on endless supplies and secure refuges, the allure of resources motivates the rise of leaders in a post-apocalyptic era. The once nameless individuals, now constantly living in fear for their lives, are left with nothing but endless mutual recriminations. More terrifying still is the short chain, barely over a meter long, that forces them to be together at all times. Esther enjoys sleeping in, while Donovan is accustomed to early morning workouts, turning every morning into a battleground of arguments. Donovan prefers quiet, but Esther talks incessantly. In their spacious 3-bedroom apartment, the chain prevents even a moment of solitude, as Donovan can't even shut a door to find peace. Donovan, a northerner, prefers noodles, while Esther only likes rice. Neither of them can cook, so they subsist on fast food, constantly blaming each other. As time goes on, one wants to sleep while the other needs to get up, one wants to bathe, while the other wants to watch TV, one is hungry, the other just wants to lounge around. Even turning over in bed can wake the other due to the chain on their legs. I watch as their relationship evolves from affectionate glances to boredom, annoyance, disgust, hatred, and then enmity. I hide in the shadows, relishing their gradual breakdown. They have become prisoners of a so-called love, truly shackled by their grievances against each other. This is the gift I give them before sending them to their deaths, a chance to see each other's true colors. In the second month after the outbreak of the zombie virus, less than half of the population survives, and the world has lost all order. With a massive reduction in population over 2 months, food shortages are widespread. To survive, people start forming alliances and makeshift gangs, recruiting members with supplies and weapons, establishing power, and engaging in violence and looting in this apocalyptic world. In their previous life, Donovan and Esther amassed supplies and dominated their adversaries using my space. However, this time, the iron chain on their feet keeps them from daring to venture outside. The chain, just over a meter long, binds them tightly together, making it impossible for them to act independently once outside. Their chances of survival are almost nil due to their impaired mobility, forcing them to cower in a small room. They try cutting the chain with knives, burning it with fire, and smashing it with hammers, but the noise attracts zombies who furiously pound on their door, yet the chain remains unbroken. The room is still stocked with supplies, but their spirits are at a breaking point. The two are bound together even for basic needs like bathing and using the toilet. And dressing becomes a challenge. The novelty of their initial affair has long faded, replaced by disgust and escalating arguments. I sit in the villa, munching on a tomato, mockingly watching the continuous conflicts on the surveillance screens like a primetime reality show, after being trapped for 2 months with no end in sight. Their patience wears thin. Donovan wants to join a gang to carve out a path to survival, while Esther prefers to hunker down and wait for reinforcements. In yet another heated disagreement, Donovan loses his temper with Esther. He smothers her head with a pillow and kicks her viciously in the abdomen. Esther's muffled sobs come through the surveillance, while the chain that symbolized their steadfast love clatters loudly. "You bitch. If it weren't for you dragging me down, I would have escaped long ago. Why don't you just die?" Donovan curses her brutally, without a trace of compassion. Esther, unable to get up, stares at Donovan incredulously with tear-filled eyes. "You're the one who insisted on marrying me. If not for you, I'd still be enjoying the support of Faith's family, living without worry. You have the nerve to say that. If it weren't for you, I would have been Faith's family's son-in-law, escaping with all their money before their bankruptcy." Donovan retorts through clenched teeth, "Pathetic man, living off a woman. I have no respect for you." Esther retorts, curling up on the ground and kicking at Donovan. "Crafty witch." Donovan slaps her in response. In this desperate, apocalyptic world, their mutual dependence has turned into a toxic battle for survival. They were actually fighting among themselves, while hunkered down in a fortress-like shelter far from the city center. I constantly monitored the outside world and amused myself by keeping an eye on this despicable man and woman. The two fought fiercely, irreparably severing ties. They desperately wanted to go their separate ways, but what they didn't know was that the chain I had custom-made for them would forever bind them together, unless one cut off the other's leg, or killed them. 13. In the third month of the apocalypse, the government established bases and the military launched rescue operations. Most gangs struggling to survive promptly surrendered, while the remaining scattered forces ceased their disturbances and no longer dared to stir up trouble. The streets swarmed with zombies that were incinerated by muskets, the city was cleansed, and rescue signals were sent from all directions, increasingly reaching survivors hidden in corners. My parents and I were among the first to be rescued to the base, using an unknown number. I sent the coordinates of the base to Donovan and Esther, but I instructed them that there was only one spot available at the base. I even thoughtfully prepared a car for them. It seemed fate dictated that to reach the base, they would have to pass the very road where they had once pushed me out of the car to feed the zombies. The same scene as before, only now it had become a cruel choice between the two of them. The more brutal part was that they thought the other was unaware. When the base doors opened, only Esther stood before me, dragging a blood-stained, empty chain from her foot. The answer was self-evident. 14. The footage from the dashcam, transmitted back in real time, showed them getting into the car and desperately fleeing, with zombies relentlessly chasing after them, clawing at the doors and smashing the windshield. In a terrifying and grotesque scene, the car struggled to move forward. As they approached the small road, the number of zombies suddenly increased, completely surrounding the SUV and shrieking as they attacked. The glass windows banged and buckled under the assault, and even though the zombies shattered their shoulders and tore off their arms, they stubbornly continued their attack. The first crack in the glass spread, stained with the sauce-brown fluid of the zombies, and the whole vehicle shook precariously. Esther, with a face of despair, turned to Donovan for help. They knew all too well that unless one of them could get out to distract the zombies, the other might have a chance to survive. Otherwise, they would both perish. The zombies continued their assault outside, and a second crack appeared on the side window. "Esther, I love you." Donovan trembled, giving Esther a deep kiss, then moved to open the door, but it was on Esther's side. Donovan, what are you doing? Esther exclaimed in shock. We can't both die here. I love you so much. And I believe you'd want me to survive, Donovan said righteously, confident in his physical advantage over Esther. Esther lowered her eyes, her expression dimming. If this is Donovan's decision, then I'm willing. Really, Esther, you're willing to sacrifice yourself for me? Donovan was overjoyed, surprised it was even easier than he had imagined. He pulled out a dagger, intending to chop off Esther's foot and free her from the chain, pushing her out of the car, but suddenly, he collapsed. Powerless, I'm willing, Esther said expressionlessly, taking the knife. She exerted all her strength. Severing Donovan's ankle caused him to howl in excruciating pain. Powerless to fight back, the zombies outside the vehicle, drawn by the scent of blood, went into a frenzy. You bitch, you drugged the water, Donovan screamed, his body limp and in so much pain he nearly passed out. Just like before, the water was drugged, but this time, it was intended for her lover. Esther remained expressionless as she quickly pushed Donovan out of the car. Instantly, Donovan was swarmed and bitten by the zombies. Screams echoed as Esther climbed into the driver's seat and drove away. I was willing, Donovan, only one of us could enter the base. I believe if the roles were reversed, you'd want me to survive too, Esther muttered to herself, driving while tossing Donovan's severed foot out of the window. I know you loved me, so I'll carry on for both of us, Esther said, rubbing her cheek where Donovan had hit her, and with a cold laugh, she floored the accelerator. When Esther arrived at the base, having sacrificed Donovan to save herself after much ordeal, the person who greeted her was me. Faith, why are you here? You didn't die, Esther exclaimed in horror. Not only had I not died, but my parents, who were supposed to be killed by the mafia, also stood behind me. What's going on here? Esther was confused and stepped back repeatedly. Weren't we supposed to love each other till the seas dry up and the rocks crumble, till the end of the world? I scoffed, looking down at the chains on her feet. Esther looked up incredulously. You knew everything. I stood my ground, neither confirming nor denying. Are you the mysterious person who provided us with the safe house address? Esther staggered, almost falling in shock. I continued to smile. The chains on our feet. Did you prepare those too? Esther asked, trembling. I did not deny it, so, the address to the base was also sent by you. Esther became hysterical, her rage predictable as she lunged at me. She was restrained by 2 officers. You're clever, guessing it right away, I said, smiling innocently. You devil, why do you torment us like this? Esther tried to reach me, her eyes nearly shooting fire, wishing she could tear me apart. But she couldn't get close to me, held back by the officers, one of whom even drew a gun. Non-compliant living humans pose a greater threat than zombies in this post-apocalyptic world. If Esther caused more trouble, I wouldn't mind giving her a bullet. You killed Donovan. You killed him, Esther shouted, her eyes red with fury. Quiet. Do you want to attract the zombies outside the base? Before I could act, the commanding officer hit Esther on the head with the butt of his gun. Esther fell to the ground in pain, holding her head and sobbing pitifully, but as someone from a previous life destroyed by Esther, I only found it laughable. I looked at her mockingly. How could I have killed your Donovan? It was you who fed him the drug drink. You were the one who cut off his legs and threw him alive into a horde of zombies, I accused. Stop. Just stop. You're lying. It wasn't me. Esther covered her head, collapsing as if she had only just realized that Donovan was indeed dead, and it was by her doing. But you did survive, didn't you? I mocked. Survived by sacrificing your lover. I laughed heartily, my tone tinged with cruelty. In the survivor base, where resources were tight and space extremely limited, Esther was assigned to a shared room for 12 people. It had no windows, no sunlight, just barely enough space to stretch out her legs to sleep. Why should we, the poor, have no dignity? Why does Faith get a private room? We all survived. We should all have equal rights, Esther argued with hands on her hips, trying to incite her roommates. But she was mistaken. I never needed money to enter the base. I donated billions worth of supplies using a spatial ring and Faith's family's fortune, and saved countless lives, earning a small privilege in return, while I lazed around in a large villa, confident that my country wouldn't abandon us, that the government wouldn't abandon us. I believed that humanity would not be overwhelmed by this crisis, having survived numerous severe challenges throughout history. Thus, during these apocalyptic times, I compiled a list of survivors found by drones over the past 2 months and handed it over to the government. That's why humans could counterattack so quickly. Why in this era, half of the survivors managed to escape doom, Esther continued to rant. The people in the room looked at her as if she were a fool. One of the women came over and stuffed Esther's mouth with a rag. Every single person in this room was saved by faith. She deserves to have a single room, the woman, holding a young boy, said emotionally. Everyone in our building mutated. The child's father died trying to save us, and we were trapped in our house. If it weren't for her using drones to drop food, my child would have starved to death. She's our savior. Is it wrong for me to demand human rights? Why should there still be distinctions of class at the end of the world? Why should I live in such a wretched place? Esther spat out, her demeanor having changed drastically since killing Donovan, revealing her true, brazen, shameless self. Why don't you consider where the soldiers who rescued you are living? Have you thought that if this room housed only 6 or 4 people, you wouldn't have had a chance to enter this base at all? Another girl in the room said angrily, glaring. The girl, known as Number 11, had been trapped in a pantry surrounded by zombies and nearly died. A young soldier broke through the encirclement to rescue her but was bitten and begged the girl to shoot him in the head. Survivors of this apocalypse, having endured nightmarish attacks and brushes with death, cherished the opportunity to stay in the base and the hard-earned chance to continue living, grateful for the glimmers of humanity that shone through. Confronted by Esther's ungrateful attitude and thinking of those who had sacrificed themselves for their survival, Number 11 could no longer hold back. I don't care what Faith has, I want it too. Esther lunged at me violently. Slap. Was I too kind to you? I said, looking at the obstinate Esther, and fiercely slapped her to the ground. Everyone owes you. Is that it? Treating you like a sister. Caring for you in every way because we looked down on you. My parents funded your education out of pity. My fiancé was kind to you, and you tried to seduce him. Being poor isn't a sin, but shamelessness is, I said, punching as I released months of pent-up anger. I gave you a chance to apologize and a chance to live, even though I gave you the chance to witness love with your lover. How did you respond? I sneered devilishly. You threw him into a pile of zombies. Just like you did to me in a past life. What? Esther stopped cursing and causing a scene, and just stared at me blankly. Faith, what do you mean by past life? What are you talking about? Do you know something else? Esther screamed frantically in front of me. On the way to deliver supplies to another base, Esther tried her old tricks again, thinking she could compete with me, but found herself completely powerless. Anticipating her dirty tricks, I simply turned her own game against her. Esther tried to push me out of the vehicle but got bitten by a zombie as she opened the door. She began to mutate quickly and, while still lucid, deliberately scratched me viciously. Struggling, she tried to pull me out of the vehicle to die with her. I knew she had intentionally arranged to be in the same vehicle as me, and I knew how much she hated me. Faith, go to hell. You can't beat me, even if we start over in this life. You'll still die by my hand. Esther laughed maniacally. You little trash, the spatial treasure is a waste in your hands. Donovan and I at least became leaders and tyrants, while you, hoarding supplies, are just a little lackey. Ha ha ha. Esther's eyes began to bloodshot, and her expression turned fierce. You're only fit to be my stepping stone. In another life, you'll still just be a sacrifice for me. Esther's speech slurred, her limbs twisted, her pupils turned red, and her fingers clawed. Before she died, she remembered everything, or perhaps she had remembered everything before we even left, yet she felt no remorse. I gave her a chance at life, and she wished me dead. This woman, for her own benefit, chose to betray friendship, family, and love in 2 lifetimes. As expected, I fiercely kicked her under the vehicle and sped away. She didn't know, letting her or Donovan into the base wasn't out of my overflowing kindness, but was intentional. I am a person who must retaliate, letting those scoundrels die unknowingly, compared to the pain I've suffered, is a great mercy. How is this possible? Therefore, instead of a one-sided slaughter knowing the plot, I prefer to destroy what they firmly believe in, dismantle their love and let them experience the despair of survival in the apocalypse, feel the pain of betrayal, and the hatred of being killed by their closest companions, without the treasure space and supplies. Without the wealth of Faith's family, without the advantage of a refuge, these two dependent on each other endure endless zombie chases, hunger, and fear, eventually turning against each other and killing each other. Only in this way is revenge truly complete, isn't it? Especially seeing Esther recall the glory of her past life and her frustration and helplessness, it's particularly satisfying. As for the scratches, sorry. In Faith's family's villa, vaccines were secretly developed long ago. Who would have thought that those extras left in the villa were actually the country's top biologists and pharmacologists? This is my ultimate backup. As one of the first to be vaccinated, my serum will bring hope to humanity. On this journey, the most crucial cargo was myself. In the 5th month of the apocalypse, humanity welcomed a new dawn. My nemesis perished in a wave of zombies, and I, a survivor, also became a savior.